I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it. This is where it goes down.
Ain't this your part, Q? You know this part, right?
I just happen to come.
Can we just hear you rap this part?
I don't know this part.
Go ahead. Try it.
I never took a straight path
Nowhere.
Life's full of
Go ahead.
turns, bumps and bruises.
I live, I learn.
I'm from the
Oh, Q.
It doesn't resonate.
Come on, Q.
Q, don't front.
Thank you.
I don't know this part. Did I ever rap this part to y'all before?
I'm just saying, you look like you know a 50 Cent bar. So
No, I'm not a big 50 Cent fan. My sister is, though. I'm not a big 50 Cent fan. He talked too much shit.
Shout to your sister.
You know, I can't deal with that.
I'm here.
You're supposed to be uplifting the culture. Like,
What?
What do you mean, what? Yeah, he's a bully.
God. Okay.
I mean,
I think he's intelligent, but I also don't like his means about, like...
it goes with the persona, though. Like, I think it's not in real life. Like, there was a point where he was, like, actually hurting people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of cool with him just sending out memes. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the grand scheme
I like
of
this
things,
50.
Like,
Even though,
I'm
sidebar,
uploading, bro.
they said that he punched what's name in the face, though.
Ooh.
He said he did
denied
it.
it, but-
Yeah, he said he did.
French?
Yep.
When?
He's still on that type of
Oh,
time.
from the, yeah, I seen a couple. I mean,
Well, I'm
See?
just saying.
you think it's true?
And
Is
he
it
don't
true?
have respect for his own,
I think
like,
it's
children. Like, he's just
balance.
mad whack. He could be a better
Nah,
human
but
being.
see, that's
The
biased.
shit with the kids was kind of whack.
I just wanted
do
you
you
to rap a
mean?
50 Cent bar. That's all.
He could
That's
be a
it.
better human being.
Oh, but what about Oprah?
Because, like,
We all.
huh?
Well,
I think,
Nah.
I think we all can be better human beings, but
Right.
Oprah is not a 50. And y'all don't go in on
Oprah is
50
not a
like
50?
you do 50. No.
Oprah does things
I
too
don't
that are
think that-
anti-black.
does
See, I knew
50
you
have
was
the
gonna be ready
same?
to go
Does
straight
50 have
there.
the same responsibility as Oprah though? Like, you know what I'm
Why-
saying?
why
I don't
would
think
his-
he.
Why would
Why would
he?
his responsibility be different?
I don't know. I don't think I hold him to the same, you know,
he's a
caliber.
rapper. See,
Yeah,
what kind of rashness
maybe.
is that?
I don't
And
know. He's just a rapper though, right? Like,
and we have guests today.
Oh,
Yeah.
so, but then that's you. That's
We
you
already-
devaluing
Yeah.
the role that rappers could play.
shit, I'm a rapper my goddamn self. I would never do that. But I'm just saying, I feel like Oprah kind of has a little bit, you know, $1 billion worth of.
What,
I
because you
don't
tell
know.
people to
Let's
read?
Welcome our guests.
Thank you,
Let's
thank
welcome
you.
our guests. No
Come
more
on.
arguing.
Yeah, I don't
Welcome
know
to
how
the
to
guests.
behave in the
Exactly.
company, man.
Yeah,
Jeez.
nah.
I mean, you were supposed to find a nice way to start us off. You the one
I'm
who,
sorry,
like,
Q.
you lit
That
the
is your
fire.
fault.
Q, you kind of like.
You started
You
it off
started
with
no, but
me.
you started
did.
with her.
I know,
with
right?
rapping. Like what
you.
the?
But that was light. She could have just said, huh, and I would have been good with that.
I've never done a
You just did. I'm good. You did.
Okay.
To my left,
Yes.
welcome. We got very special guests. Introduce yourselves, please.
I gotta say my whole thing.
You don't gotta say your whole name. You can say like the street name, nickname.
So hi, my name is Genesis.
And hey, I'm Christie, and we're Corrupted Wisdom.
Dope.
Dope.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome
I
to
don't
the
have my
show.
sound effects.
I
on
know, I was
this
going to
show.
say,
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, my MacBook
Working
died
style.
over the break. It died. It died. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, MacBook.
can you guys tell us a little bit about Corrupted Wisdom and what Corrupted Wisdom is?
Means, yeah.
What it means. So Corrupted Wisdom it's like, so our podcast is about adulting.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about topics that I feel like people in our age range and older or younger like want to have discussions about or like wonder about. So some of the things, like what was the last one?
We did passion versus stability. So we do a lot of self-awareness also, like, and essentially like what that means to you and how you navigate that as you're growing. And then the corrupted part of the name is that we drink while we do the podcast, and everything.
yeah.
Damn, sorry, y'all. We had
I like that. But yeah, so Jen is our bartender, and every week she puts
So
together.
you came empty-handed as a bartender?
See, we didn't
Like
know what type
bartending?
of environment we
yeah.
were walking
Oh,
into,
okay.
right?
Your opinion. It's like
We don't give
I
a.
didn't know I could bring a drink.
My eyes
Right.
closed in the motherfucker. I don't even got eyes in that bitch. Like,
I didn't know if you wanted us of sound mind, so we just came ready to do.
We wanted y'all to be corrupted, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can come back again, and we'll have like
always do you when
Yeah.
you come up here. Whatever your shit is, when you come here, do you. It don't matter. Like, you don't gotta change for us.
Indeed.
Yeah, so like essentially our podcast is just talking shit while we drinking.
Yes.
okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Always.
I always say
All
it.
the time.
Well, we hope to get into some of the shit talking today.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed, and you can bring those the corrupt wisdom to Fuck Your Opinion podcast show. Give it up. We didn't really fully introduce the show. All right.
Where you guys
Episode-
from? Yeah. Oh yeah. No. What? I guess is this episode 1 or is this episode?
We're gonna keep it going. Episode 60.
This would be 60.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Why not?
Episode
Yeah,
60. Do we
this
want
is
to talk to the
60.
people about the name change?
60.
Sure.
Tell the people why we changed the name, McCray.
Full transparency because we felt Unpopular Opinions was too common.
Too popular.
Too popular. I like that. That was nice. That was a bar.
That
That was a bar. Good job. Good job.
You see, this is how we get into it. This is how
I just want to be peaceful.
okay, got it. All
Right?
right.
Yeah, so we felt it was too popular, and we all decided that Fuck Your Opinion was essentially us in a nutshell. So, yeah, fuck your opinions.
Fuck Your Opinion podcast show.
And also because this is like the era of opinionism, and a lot of people just like kind of like voice their opinions like it's normally like baseless opinions. So like F your opinion is just like F your baseless opinion. Like you should educate your opinion, inform your opinion. You know. So, yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna do that.
Unfortunately.
I tried to
They haven't
encourage
tried.
that. Though,
We
but-
hear you. We're with you. but-
Right.
Yeah.
People like pulling their opinions out their ass. So it's
Definitely.
like F your opinion.
And I like this you in the little. In the,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Specifically you. Like. That's
Doing a lot of
that
speaking to
means.
me.
Like,
I
yeah,
get it.
you. Nigga reading this.
Word. Q,
Happy
good
that you
job.
appreciate it.
Good job.
Yeah.
See, 2 for 2. Q, good job. Don't leave me hanging. See?
Thank you.
Good
That's
job.
it.
But that's what's up. So the question was, where you guys from? To segue, right?
I'm from Queens.
Queens?
I don't currently reside in Queens, though. I live in Long Island.
It's all good.
You transferred to the suburbs. It's okay.
Listen, nothing wrong with that shit. Not mad at you.
Except when you like the only black family in the neighborhood. So.
That's an experience.
Yeah.
But I'm from the Bronx.
BX.
All day.
Yeah.
All day.
Throw it up. Throw it
All
up.
day.
You can tell who from the Bronx in here.
Right. My people. That's me.
Yeah.
But I live in Brooklyn now. I live in Bushwick.
BK.
All right,
BK, all right, BK.
Yeah.
I work in BK. I love
Right.
BK.
It's cool.
All right.
It ain't the Bronx, but it's cool.
Oh.
Hey, that's another. That's the top. That's another.
I had to put it in there. The Brooklyn people were listening. They were like, "Oh, she from the Bronx." Okay. So I had to give
But
it.
you know they probably
happens.
asking, but why you don't live in the Bronx though?
It's closer to work. It's closer to
that's
work.
real.
That's it.
That's
Exactly.
fair.
I
Okay.
would live and reside in the Bronx.
Come on, no.
So let me ask you guys a
that's
question.
not-
What?
Come on,
With all of the
man.
changes and with everything that's happening in Brooklyn right now, like, do you still feel as though like the Bronx is a place that you would be happy to live in, as
Yeah.
like young people your age?
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of change coming to the Bronx too. Like just like I
Too
mean,
much.
It's just late.
yeah, they're not gonna stop. You know where they're at. So whatever they're doing to Brooklyn, I see it already happening in the Bronx. They started in the South Bronx. I'm from the North Bronx, closer like almost Mount Vernon Bronx.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna take them some time before they get over there. But
Well, I feel like over there is coming soon because I definitely feel like even on what is that, Sanford, West Sanford or whatever the case is, I feel like give that 3 years,
okay.
and they're like I feel like there are a ton of people buying up the properties and stuff like that over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think now, maybe, I can see myself like living in the Bronx for a couple more years. I mean,
What you mean now? So before you wasn't jacking it?
before I wasn't, I was all Brooklyn all day.
But why?
I used to live in
Wow. Whoa. Whoa.
Because
You know,
It's
I was
the
gonna
capital
try
of
and
the
pull that out.
world, man. Like,
I
let's
swear, but
come
he did it.
on,
He did it
man.
himself.
and that's fine.
Not to hate on the Bronx.
Every-
but
I mean, I'm not
come
hating on the
son.
Bronx.
Nah,
I
I mean,
love the
Brooklyn-
Bronx, but the
Like,
one thing
come
about
on,
Brooklyn that I appreciated was the diversity and like the fact that I could, you know, go to certain places. I can find certain places I really couldn't find in the Bronx.
And
Not to say that the Bronx doesn't have that.
It doesn't.
You know,
I feel like
mean,
in areas like
some
the Bronx, they don't create
yeah.
places for people to like congregate.
Yeah, but
and
there's spaces
shit.
there in the Bronx. But yeah, Brooklyn is just a dope. I love that. Love the borough. You know, but Bronx is home.
It's the capital of the world.
Sound like a
man.
traitor.
We heard you
Come
the first
on,
Yeah.
son.
You sound like a traitor.
That's not a traitor. I can't appreciate a borough and still have love for.
You can, but you sound like you like really love. Like I love.
No, but
I
I
mean,
feel like black
keep
culture
it
is
real.
also richer in Brooklyn
No, I always
than
say
it
that.
is.
I say that.
than
Black
it is
love
culture
the
is
Bronx.
richer in
I love the
Brooklyn.
Bronx.
I don't believe you.
It's quite
Oh,
ouch.
wow.
It sounds like
It's
you're trying
alright,
to leave
bro.
us to the side.
You
bro.
could
Nah,
come through.
not at all.
You
Not
could
at
come
all.
through, bro. You good.
I
you good
appreciate
over
that.
here. You got.
But
you
I
got-
mean, the Bronx has nice places to live as
No,
well.
I'm not saying they don't. They
hell
don't.
yeah.
I was just saying as far as like the culture, as far as like you know.
I mean, the
that.
culture, yeah, it's
Yeah,
way
that's
more
all.
culture in Brooklyn.
I mean, that's all. But as far as the Bronx always have.
And when you and when y'all say culture, like what do you mean by that?
Just
I mean,
black
right,
culture,
I need-
like
Yeah.
like when I went natural, like, and I was in the Bronx. It wasn't as. It was like people were staring, like maybe
What
mainly
part
Spanish.
of the
but-
Bronx?
and
are
when you go
from?
to the Dominicans,
Well, I'm
they'd be
in
like,
Soundview.
"Mommy, you need a cream."
You in Soundview? Okay, so like the part of the Bronx I live in, like I would call that like Little Jamaica.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of different West Indian people there, a lot of Africans, mostly like Ghanaians.
Right.
So I feel like where I'm from and like the culture there's a lot of black culture for me. Like that's where I got a lot of my black culture.
Well, it's different. I mean, that part of the Bronx is West Indian, pretty
Right,
much.
right.
But I mean, in general, it's still like it's more like neighborhood, not the same way. If you go to Brooklyn, it's an infusion
More
of West.
residential.
Yeah, but it's like places to hang out. It's it's festivals. It's just more things to do in Brooklyn that cater to black culture. The Bronx doesn't really have that.
It tries to keep shit separate.
Right,
to a
like the
degree.
neighborhood is right. Then you have the foods and you can like certain things. But in
Right.
Brooklyn, you can go to BAM. You can in the summertime you can experience.
Just don't
like,
really feel that in the
And
Bronx.
then even when you
don't feel that
and
in
it
the
feels like
And the
predominantly
parades in
Hispanic
Brooklyn.
as well. I live in the Bronx, and like I know there's a ton of West Indian people around me, but I feel like Hispanic culture, Dominican culture, Puerto Rican culture, like way more.
Right.
So I don't like. I feel like I just got a freaking Caribbean spot to deliver to me on Uber Eats.
And what part of the Bronx you?
I'm on the concourse. I feel like that's
Okay,
South Bronx,
yeah,
but
that's why. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
concourse
I
is-
didn't.
and it's
I didn't have that same experience. Like I went to school like near the concourse, so that's where I felt like the more Spanish side of it. And then I lived like further north, so that's where I got like the other like West Indian, African side.
Right.
So
I
I
went
get.
and
what
I'm the opposite. I went to school on your side,
okay.
and Soundview is like the neighborhood it's half and half.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
okay.
now. It was way more black where I was, but now it's. And when I say black, I mean like more like Black American. And then in the '90s or late, I guess, or early 2000s, more African. And now it's like more Spanish.
Yeah.
But not more in the entire neighborhood because it's also Parkchester. Like that whole side is Soundview, Parkchester, Castle Hill. It's an infusion of black
Bronxdale.
and black and
Yeah,
Latino.
But even as I think about it, like I think about, I guess, like development and how it is that they develop these areas or whatever the case is, and how intentional it is not to create spaces that, like, where people can go to a friggin' cafe or a restaurant and eat. Like, most of the restaurants and stuff like that in my area used to be under Jerome Avenue. Who the hell is going to eat at a restaurant next to a tire shop? Like, nobody doing that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, it was almost super, it almost felt intentional, like they were trying to diffuse the congregation of folks and things of that nature, which is why it was easy
I
to
never thought about
develop,
that, but that's-
like,
yeah.
Brooklyn to be a little bit more because it's so much more residential.
Yeah.
And you can transform some of those places. Harlem becomes that place, but then you see what they did to Harlem. Harlem, like, completely changed.
But I was going to say that. But the other side of the Bronx, like Throgs Neck, Marvis Park, like
like I never
now
really go
there
over
are a lot of places. They have hookah spots. They
Yeah.
have.
Shit, I'd never go over there.
Plenty.
It's more
Really?
white.
Plenty,
It's
yeah.
Latino and
And
also
white,
if you-
and white American.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you go down like past,
I don't be going too far after
See, that's
beyond me.
if you go past Pelham Bay Park too.
After my
Yeah.
side.
Yeah,
So,
Pelham Bay
so
Park.
after Parkchester, you kind of go into Morris Park, which goes into like Pelham. And then on the opposite side of Soundview goes into Throgs Neck. Those are all like small white neighborhoods.
Interesting.
Hollywood Avenue.
That's why I wouldn't go.
Exactly.
It don't look like a place that I would be comfortable.
Or not only that,
I like to stay where I'm comfortable.
also Indian culture. too.
Definitely.
They have like an entire neighborhood in
that's-
Parkchester,
Yeah.
which I
That's
can't
Queens
believe.
to me, or at least I feel like there's a ton of Guyanese folks in Queens. So I'd be thinking that Queens is like little Guyana.
I think Queens is like really diverse because I lived in Jackson Heights, so it's like you had everybody. So you had Spanish people, you had Filipino people, you had black people. So I went to school, like I saw enough black people and white people not too like white people were the minority in my school, so I felt like we got a very diverse, I guess, experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I was in school, like, I think I didn't see my first white person in elementary school, I think, like, for a long time. Like, there was one Spanish girl in my class one year, and she looked white, so everybody's like, oh, it's a white girl, and it's like, no, she's Puerto Rican, so it's like, it's not the same, you know?
Shit, I'm starting to see like an infusion in certain neighborhoods. For instance, I used to work in Canarsie, and like I'm starting to. There was a first white.
Yeah,
child
I
that
used to
came
live
to
in
the
Canarsie
school.
too. They're coming. Once they put
Oh,
that
even
fairway,
now-
I was like, oh, it's over.
But even now in Soundview has.
And y'all got 2 Starbucks.
Yeah, it's like they put the fairway, the Starbucks, and the Chipotle. I said, because
That's a
my
wrap.
husband,
Trader
he's
Joe's
from that
and all
neighborhood, and I
that.
was
Oh,
like,
yeah?
I was like, y'all, I was like, you better tell your parents
It's over.
they coming.
But the same thing with Soundview though now because
I
they,
haven't been around.
Oh, they built now even in my building now. You know, it's totally different. Ever since they rebuilt Soundview Park, once you rebuild the park, it's like
it
you know,
attracts.
Yeah, it attracts because it's prime real estate, and then they also added a ferry to the Bronx.
Oh yeah,
So the ferry
that,
goes
yes.
downtown, like all these. You know, it's a ferry, right?
Did I
didn't
send
know
y'all
that.
that video about Seneca Village?
Wait, what? There's a Bronx ferry? Man?
It's a Bronx
Yeah,
ferry.
yeah.
It's called Shore Haven.
Yeah, we work with a lot of consultants, and like they had this big thing, like, oh, I'm gonna take the ferry to the Bronx. I'm gonna ride on the water. I'm like, okay, yeah, they were excited.
They rebuilt everything around the Bronx River. So
Yeah, I mean,
every
it's
piece-
slowly like the
I had
Bronx
no
in 10
idea.
years is gonna be completely different.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like
disheartening.
when you think about it, there's really no
really.
more affordable places except for the Bronx.
The way that they do it is disheartening to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
well,
the way that it's
yeah, it's
done.
always the
Yeah,
way.
the way that it's
Yeah.
done. I feel like there's a way to like develop areas in a way that's sustainable and that doesn't have to like displace a ton of people. But I feel like they always find a way to do it inevitably. Because like, and I even think about like the area in the Bronx that I'm at. I feel like there were a ton of people who owned like their apartments at one point in time, and I feel like that has changed dramatically over the years. But like, it doesn't have to be. Like those people could be
No, it
given an
doesn't.
opportunity to rise up with the community, and they're just not presented with those opportunities. Some bullshit, but
It is.
Good banter. Cyborg, I saw Bad Boys for Life.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That's all right.
I wasn't a
I
fan.
ain't See it.
What? Oh,
Wasn't a fan.
you guys neither?
I'm conflicted.
Wasn't a fan.
I thoroughly enjoyed
I felt like it was
So did
lazy writing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't like the
I ain't
storyline.
see
They
Don't.
wanted the jokes so bad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what. That's what. And then some of the
Yeah.
action
You
was
guys
like.
saw it in the movies?
I saw it in the movies.
I saw it in the
I saw it in
theater.
the
Word.
I wanted to see it on
Yeah.
Fire Stick.
I tried. They don't have it. The link
I
don't
wanted
work.
It's not loaded.
The link don't work.
I thought it was good. I thought if you compared
I fought
the
temptation.
storyline like and Bad Boys for what it was like relative to the last two, it's always been about action and jokes. Martin Lawrence has always been the person who had all the
I was thoroughly
punchlines.
entertained. I
Will
don't
Smith
know.
was always the person who's driving the action, and then they have some female in there like who's supposed to bring out the sex appeal, right? And I feel like that has always been their equation, and I feel like they stayed true to their whatchamacallit. Why didn't y'all like it?
I felt like the jokes were. I didn't feel like the jokes were funny. I felt like it was forced. Or it was like they just went for like easy jokes. And then I liked the storyline. I felt they could have developed the plot a little bit more because everything just felt like a little bit rushed.
Yeah.
I was about to say
I
that.
So
agree with
it
that.
like maybe they could have took out some parts to like emphasize other parts in
Like
the
the
movie
son
theater. Yeah, like that was
piece.
actually a good plot twist.
Do you
Yeah.
care? Spoiler alert. Okay.
I mean, I don't really care.
I
I wasn't too excited about seeing it. Like and I love Will Smith. Like y'all know, like that's my favorite actor. But I don't want to see shit from 25 years ago no more. Like
I felt like it
wanna
was
see
too.
new shit.
It was too much
I
time.
don't care.
It was too
Yeah,
much
like
time.
I don't care. And like Martin's old and fat. Like bro, you're not chasing
He
up
was funny
beating
to me.
nobody.
I mean,
up,
but he
bro.
wasn't chasing nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, good.
So
He
they,
wasn't.
they literally,
Like,
what I
you're not
appreciated is
beating
that they,
nobody up, son.
He
Like,
kept going
yeah.
the squad. Like
Yeah.
I think
He's
they
like,
played
I'm not
off. They
made
played
for
off
shit
that.
no more.
they
Right.
played off of it.
He knew his
Uh,
purpose in that movie. He was like, I'm gonna stay here.
I'm here. I'm gonna give y'all the jokes.
All right,
That's
good.
it.
I got the phone. I got you. I'm gonna call them. I got you.
Nah,
I
but
thought it was good.
I'm good. I just didn't.
It was kind of like
It was
borderline
rushed.
superhero-ish though. Like at the end with the son
Yeah.
It was like, is this like a comic? I don't know what's going on right here. It was like, it started like.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the guy at the end, he was on the team, and like the thing was falling. The brick column was. He ran into the whole column and knocked.
Oh yeah,
the whole
he knocked it down.
Yeah, I was like, you ain't do
Come
no
on,
talking
Rain.
this entire
Really?
goddamn movie.
But
All
you
of a sudden, you
knocking
knocking
out
out columns and shit.
All right, I'm gonna need you to beat some people up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but that was a part of his
That was
story.
the whole part of his story.
Yeah.
I
He-
get it.
that was
trained
I
op.
get it. It
Show
was
me an angry
corny.
part before. Like,
It was
let me
corny.
see him
I was
knock
like,
somebody out first.
Really? He knocks on a whole fucking cinder block
Yeah,
shit.
that's what this.
What is he, Colossus? Come on.
I mean, see, when it comes to movies coming out, I was sharing with someone the other day that I'm a political movie watcher. So as long as this is like giving black people jobs, I'm good with it.
Okay,
like
but-
I will always support it if it gives black people jobs.
Yeah, but it
So
could
it's always
still
gonna
be
good to
whack.
me.
Yeah.
But it could still
I mean,
be
I
corny.
guess, but I'm
You
not gonna say that
support
shit
it.
on the podcast.
I feel you.
Because I want people
Nah,
to
fuck
see
that. I
shit.
feel you. Nah, I feel that. But nah, I wasn't excited to see it even to begin with.
What? I'm trying to support black
like,
business.
I don't want to
get it,
see
but if
old
it's-
shit. Give me some new shit, man.
it's
That's
bad,
real.
it's
People are
bad.
lazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's-
what Hollywood is. It's always a remake, a reboot, or this meets that. Like, come up with some original
was good.
ideas.
It was very
man. I don't
predictable,
wanna
too.
see shit I saw already.
And it also
Like, I knew the captain was gonna get shot.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know Will Smith was gonna get shot. I didn't know anything was
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Hold up,
Yeah,
Will
I-
Smith does? Nah.
So you want to see
nah.
it because it does catch you off
Oh,
guard.
I
That
was about
catches
to
me
I mean,
off
he
guard.
actually did. He technically did die.
nigga.
They said he died.
They said he
coded
died
twice.
3 times.
Right.
Oh,
So
alright,
that's why I
but
said I was on the
nah.
fence because some of it was like you're fishing for this.
shit
Now.
Will
Yeah. Some of
Smith
it I was
died,
like,
yeah.
oh wow,
I'd have
like,
been
this
out.
was,
But
that
the
part
sun
shocked
thing was
me.
crazy.
yeah.
The sun part was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was also like, because didn't the last one they left off where he was with Gabrielle Union?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's
And I was like, why didn't they bring it back?
Yeah, like what? Or why didn't they even like tie that up?
Well, they did. They had a conversation in the car where it was like, "Oh, you just mad because I left your sister."
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the most they said about it.
And I was like, that's
they
what
could. She could have had a cameo, but
yeah,
they
like
wouldn't
they
try to
could
pay
have,
that shit.
especially
Yeah,
because the
would've
whole
cost too
second
much.
movie was about their
Yeah.
relationship. They could have like made it better.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
hope
well,
it's
the next
not
one.
another one. No,
They
the
said
way it ended.
They are making a next one, and it's already.
Bro,
yeah.
it's never gonna stop. It's why I hate
It's gonna
Hollywood.
be-
I don't
it's-
want to see this one.
It's gonna be him and the son.
And that's the thing I don't like. Like his
Oh, him
son
and the
body,
son.
his son bodied the captain, but then it's like, oh, I got a job for you.
I mean, but it's his
It's
kid.
his son.
It's his kid.
It's his son.
That's fucked up.
Really?
I mean,
killed
yeah,
him?
but like, it's your kid.
He
got
didn't
people
know
in high
that was his
places.
dad when he did that.
He
For
didn't.
real.
That shit died, man.
He's gonna do his time, and
He
move
killed the
on.
fucking captain. That was like his dad, and
I
then
mean,
that's
but he
cool.
ain't his daddy, and
That's
he's his
bull
son.
crap.
It's not cool. All right, he killed his dad, and that's his son. Right.
Right.
Fuck your opinion.
That.
Shit is fucked up.
But what else is? Have y'all been listening to
Should've seen
any
the
new
photograph.
albums that came out?
Speaking of albums, did we talk about the Eminem album?
We have it.
I didn't listen to it.
That's a great
Me neither.
album.
It's
I
good.
thought-
I'm
I
not
thought-
gonna lie. It's good.
Oh, never mind.
I also listened to I don't know if y'all up on her 070 Shake. She has a dope album. She's off Good Music. She's
I heard
she
of her,
raps.
but I
Yeah,
don't
she's
know
like
what the-
alternative hip hop.
And her name is
070
She has a song
Shake.
on the radio that is like. That's the
070
only thing I know.
Shake.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
Interesting.
pretty dope. She's pretty dope.
I've never heard of it.
Okay, we gotta check that.
Can't even keep up with the names and shit no more.
Who else?
Nah, it's a
Who
dope
else?
name.
There's a lot of music.
Lil Wayne released an album.
Yeah, I ain't
yeah.
listened to
Yeah.
Wayne
He did?
shit
Yeah.
neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Funeral.
did.
The funeral.
Yeah,
Where
I
have
ain't
you
listened to
been?
Wayne shit neither.
Appropriately titled.
Yeah, you talking about 070 Shake, but you don't know Wayne.
No, I
Johnson
haven't.
shit.
I didn't know about that.
What you talking
They're
about?
judging you. They're judging you.
That's fine.
How you like?
I didn't know it was. It's an album or like a mixtape.
Album.
Nah, it was
It's
an
an
album.
album. It's an album.
Where have you?
Charted too.
Word, dog.
I don't know.
Yeah, nah, definitely. I didn't listen to it, but it dropped.
Could we have a moment to give like people their flowers? Who the hell ever deserved their flowers this week?
Who deserved their
Actually,
flowers?
I don't know if y'all ever responded to that, but I still want to introduce it.
No.
I don't know, but from the first time that I was on the
And
What's It Called, you was
forever.
cussing people out about like giving people flowers when they're dead. People been dying, so I said that we should have a segment where we give somebody their flowers. So
Word
can we give
up.
somebody a flower?
Who you want to get a flower to?
So
Definitely.
I don't think I should be the one because if I start, y'all not gonna like it.
Wow.
Apparently,
Uh-oh.
LeBron James's school
What a bad format.
is offering free tuition for kids for to Kent University.
For Kent State.
Oh yeah,
right? I think,
the first
Kent
graduating
State,
class.
which I feel like is cool.
That's super dope.
Because
Agreed.
it's pushing, because of, I guess what it's doing, right? Is allowing a ton of kids to graduate, debt free.
Elementary
And
to
getting,
college
secondary,
pipeline instead of elementary
giving
to
LeBron
prison
flowers?
pipeline.
Whomever is responsible, but naturally I felt inclined to give it to him because I felt
think-
this is school.
Why wouldn't
But I
you
don't know
like
if he's
it?
the person behind it.
Kent State did
I
it, but it's
felt-
his thought.
I was apprehensive about bringing it, all things considered. So,
okay.
yeah.
I mean, Kent State did it, but you got to give him the props for starting it. It's like
Yeah.
a elementary to college pipeline as opposed to elementary to prison pipeline. Like that shit is super dope. You know automatically if you graduate from here that you have a guarantee to get a college education. Like that's super dope.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
Agreed.
That's unprecedented. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anybody else has anything like that.
Right.
That way you automatically can get into a school if you graduate from somewhere. So
Nope.
that's fucking fire.
That's dope.
Hell
It's a
yeah.
big
No
deal.
sound effects.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
It's like that
That shit's
insurance
fire.
commercial with the dude has all his friends in there doing particular parts
Yo,
for the car.
word, that shit is a good commercial.
It's a yeah.
So I thought that
I'm
was
that
pretty
person.
dope. But I do want to be a little bit more intentional about paying attention to some of the shit that people are doing and recognize them for the different things that they're doing. Because I have a lot of friends who's doing dope shit. So I would like to be intentional about recognizing people for the stuff that they're doing
That's dope.
before they
Word
die.
up.
Very dope.
Facts.
Word up.
Word.
Do that. Definitely.
As far as music,
Oh, A
The-
Boogie released.
Oh yeah, A Boogie too.
Oh, word.
Nothing?
I don't listen to him.
Yeah.
Ever since the that
Yo, the other day,
I'm
I
good.
got in the
Bop
car.
your head? No,
I'm good.
That
I'm
was the
good.
problem. I got in the car
I
and I
see
turned
Mike,
that shit
and you
on,
just
and
there's
you were
certain
like-
shit you
and I
just
started
don't touch.
mindlessly singing
He
that
ain't
shit.
even
I said,
write
oh,
that
hell
though.
no.
That's the funny shit. He ain't even write that. Young Berg wrote that. That's the funny shit. Hitmaker
word?
wrote that. Yeah.
But you didn't.
So, like,
Young
you
Berg
Actually,
didn't
I
write
think
that.
Michael Jackson
What you
deserved credit for that
Thank
shit.
you.
I
to
mean,
be honest.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is somebody a little bit older was channeling that, because Hitmaker.
This what you should say.
Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, but yeah.
That.
Hitmaker wrote that.
I'm good.
I don't know. This shit's kind of hot though.
Yes,
know.
it makes you.
I mean,
listen. Yes,
It's a bop.
Something
it
you
gets
just
you going.
bopping your head mad hard.
Definitely.
Still, what the
I
hell
feel like I'm
am
like
I
that
singing?
old grumpy dude. Then I just don't
yeah,
like
I mean,
it.
can I have a ran for that?
Good. Do you think?
Because I just feel like that's the problem with bridging the gap, right? So it's like the youth don't listen to the OGs as far as hip hop goes. And the OGs are like, I don't want to hear that shit either. But that's a disconnect
Yep.
that is kind of whack. No one's saying that you have to kind of like love the new music, but I feel like if you really are about hip hop, you have to be about the youth. Like you just have to be, because the youth fuel the culture. Like they fuel hip hop, and I feel like if you once you get into a certain level, I don't know. My whole rant is that's the disconnect, and that kind of messes up.
So I
the
have
culture.
And longevity in music for people who've been
It's this
here,
riff
right?
Yeah.
that's whack.
And
It's,
just,
you know,
I
it's
mean,
that's real,
Something
real.
not be corny.
That's
though.
what I'm saying. Like
It can be corny.
Some
the
shit
way
can be
music is shifting,
corny.
though, you got to think about how music wasn't the same when they was rapping back.
Of course.
When things shifted as well. So I feel like you got to give everything a chance, because the way music is shifting, you never know what direction it's going. I get it. Like, this is your style. You like this.
Yeah.
It's the old school, the good stuff that everybody likes. But, like, the way the music is shifting, I think give it a chance, too.
Even Styles P said that, right? He said, because this is what I'm trying to say, if you're in tune, right? The new wave, the old G's didn't have they're melodic. The new wave, that's still rapping though. Like being melodic and like kind of singing and rapping. The OGs kind of create that whole style, right? And they just kind of the youth are doing it their own way. I'm not saying you have to listen to it. I'm just saying it just can't be.
No,
You know what? I
Go
think
ahead.
sometimes it becomes over. I think there's an oversaturation that comes with some of the new stuff that sometimes it's hard
But
to.
it was
to
whack
suss
shit back
through.
in the day too.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Agreed. But I think that's a thing that I guess I'm saying that to say I think older folks sometimes lose the patience in being able to suss out what might be new talent versus and somebody else is coming in a milk suit. Or whatever the case is, because I think about that scene from
what
Brown
suit?
Sugar. Y'all remember that scene from the movie Brown Sugar where they came?
Yeah.
It was like the they came in like the cow suit.
Yeah,
whatever,
I know
whatever
what
the
you're
case
talking
is.
about. I know
always
what
think
you're
about that
talking
shit.
They
Or
were
whatever the case is.
the Dalmatians.
Yes,
That's what it was. Yes.
the rapping
cow
Dalmatian is whatever the case is. I say cows.
No.
But I say that to say, like, I think sometimes there's so many like new folks that sound like that
Alike.
comes with that sound alike, and or where like sometimes it's easy to not want to give people a chance when the reality is like
That's
you
my
just have
thing.
to.
Like you have to give it a chance. The
Agreed.
same way the youth have to do the due diligence. Like
Agreed.
youth have to be like you have to pay homage. You have to listen to what came before you. That's the disconnect.
I also think that there's too much sampling that's happening though, or not too much, but I feel like there's shit that came out like 10 years ago that's getting sampled, and that shit is like driving me
'Cause
wild.
these
I'm like,
kids
I'm
don't
still on
know
that
it,
old shit. Like I still like the first version. Like stop that shit. Like I said, it took me a while to like accept. What's the one that they sampled for Brownstone? Say it. Like it was a good sample,
Tory
but like I
Lanez.
still like I was like, damn, that was just really and truly like 15, 20 years ago.
I don't know,
song.
but that's where hip hop came from. Like the
Right, so
original
we can't
songs
knock
were
it.
from, looping the last
Point
30
taken.
seconds.
Yeah,
of
think about with
instrumentals.
Diddy and
Point
Bad
taken.
Boy when they
Rap on,
first
yeah.
came out.
It was
Point
the same
taken.
shit. Like it was the same thing. It was just that when we was growing up, you didn't really remember some of them songs. It's like, oh shit, that's a sample.
But
You
are
know,
we
but
moving
it's
to a place where we can't enjoy shit unless it rings unless it connects to
No,
something?
that's-
That
no,
speaks to
but
what I'm
that's-
saying with the
that's the lack
part
of
5
creativity,
and
though.
a reboot, and this meets that. The creativity is slowly dying because all we can do is just regurgitate some old shit that worked, and it's like, oh, I know this will work at a certain level,
easy.
so I'm gonna just give you this.
But
it's not even as creative as back in the day. Like back in the day, you would take a part of a song and sample it and create a new beat, and it would be like, they took that part and made a new beat. Now it's just give me that old beat. I'm making a song on that shit.
I would speed
You know what
that
I'm
shit
saying?
up
Like
to
that's
1.5.
yeah, like that. And I'm like that's the corny shit. That's the moving away from creativity and moving towards regurgitation.
But just like I said, like Lil Nas X did a song with Nas.
And he I like the post that you put
That
up.
bridged
Like,
the gap.
he
But only the
introduced-
old heads are like, no, he didn't.
I like the song.
What is that about?
It didn't bridge the gap. It didn't introduce it.
But
yes,
I
it
like the
did.
song. I like the song.
I
Me too.
didn't
It's
hear it.
decent, but I'm saying that a lot of kids won't know who Nas, J, and Biggie are.
Mm-hmm.
So unless your parents are hip hop parents and they're playing these songs and they're introducing them,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it takes the youth like a Lil Nas X to do a song with Nas. Like that's dope. Lil Nas X, Nas together, dope. Now because that Nas is all of his videos have went up. That
Interesting.
video
Well-
did 16 million views in 1 week. So now you got all these people worldwide like checking out Nas. You know what I mean?
One of the other funky things that I recognize is that I think there was a greater opportunity for artists like from the 90s and stuff like that to move into, I don't know, like production like roles and stuff like that, and to be like, I think about Candy Burris and even Tiny, who are like really good songwriters or whatever the case is, and that they're doing that work, but it makes me wonder whether or not there's been a stifling of like other folks being able to do that, because I feel like there would be a natural connection if it is that these people are moving into different types of roles and then like moving into roles of mentorship and things of that nature.
But that is happening. You don't think?
And not necessarily, because I feel like in the 90s, I feel like there was this thing of like holding people out of getting into the business.
Oh.
Whereas like, and so now my theory is that you're seeing the after effects of that, whereas like it's the same stale ass shit that y'all were producing back then that we're still like having to deal with or having to pass through you, that's causing us to not like one, see and hear new fresh energy, even if it's from older people, and then two, that like might be stifling, I guess, whatever connections could have been made from like younger to older, if it is that they were in like positions of mentorship and shit like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's twofold. I'm saying it's also the old heads that they're not really passing the torch, right?
But I guess I'm saying that I wonder if some of the old heads were given the opportunity to.
That's true too. And also, if some shit is not popping, if doesn't sound dope, like we can't just be automatically put in a hater box. If we don't
I'm
like
saying
it,
if you
we don't
have
like
the
it.
if you have the
That don't mean I don't hate you.
Yeah.
like if you have the means, a lot of them, if you have the means, you're supposed to elevate the next wave. Like, so I'm saying a lot of them just keep going. You're not bringing any. The same thing with us as a people. If you get to a certain level, we should be pulling people up. You know what I mean?
But another thing with that is like artists not necessarily being in charge of, I guess, like that I guess
They are though.
dominating, I guess I don't know, control over like the creative thing, because then look at how many times I guess monetization of the music industry has changed. Now it's about streaming and shit like that, and none of these people own a Spotify or a Tidal and things of that nature. So like the influence, like I think about I guess all the role that all of that plays in what is produced.
They do own is more so there are less label deals, right? Mm-hmm. Even though the artist still thinks that they need one to succeed, mm-hmm. right? But they don't. This era kind of created like where you can be an entrepreneur within music,
yeah,
and you can own
fund
your own streams, fund your own shit. You know what I mean? So, but I was just saying more so the rift between the old and new.
I don't know, because I think in entertainment, because you're successful doesn't mean I have to respect you. Like, it's not a merit-based industry, meaning like if you do very well, that doesn't necessarily mean you're talented. Like, I still don't have to respect your talent because you did well. People will just pay sometimes and see some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are movie stars that can't really act. There are rappers and singing that are not fucking good. Like, it's not a merit-based industry the way you can say, I'm better than this person because of these metrics. There's no metrics to, like, judge it. So, like, I'm not willing to just say, oh, I gotta like you because you're successful. Like, nah, bro. Like, this shit sucks.
Not because you're successful, but, like right now, from Brooklyn, the new wave is the Brooklyn drill, right?
Yeah, FYOP and all of that.
But
yeah, that shit is
it
dope.
needs to be commended that they brought kind of life in hip hop back to New York. That's what I'm saying. So you can't. So the old heads can't say, you can't not acknowledge that. You can't say that shit is whack when it's kind of keeping hip hop alive. Also, in New York
I wasn't
City.
saying they was whack. I wasn't saying they was whack.
I'll
fuck with
I'm saying that you may not think that these guys are dope.
Yeah, what is the Brooklyn drill?
I fuck with Fabi. I wasn't specifically talking about him. I was speaking more like.
No, I didn't say no names. I'm just saying like some people may not think that they are lyrical, that they're nice. Not just him. Yeah. The sound.
Yeah, like, the sound is kind of, you know.
And how would you know this?
Pop Smoke,
in that,
I teach writing. I don't teach.
No, you teach those kids who went crazy when he came to the school.
Yeah, and in my classroom, I don't play Bubba the Bobby. I play strictly, good music.
What's good music?
I play 60s, Smokey Robinson,
this is
Temptations.
What speaks to the divide, because
Come
I remember
on,
so the time when the kids
culture
right after that shit happened. I remember when we had field day and the kids, we were playing music. And they put the song on, and someone was like, "Miss Arrington, have them take that shit off." Like, and I'm like, God, like, damn it, this is what they want. I don't know what to do, right? I don't want to hear his shit neither. Exactly, like his voice is annoying.
It is,
but one of the ways that, like,
yeah,
I don't think his voice is annoying. I don't think it's annoying.
I think it's his voice. It's funny sounding, but it's annoying.
I fuck with him.
Both. I'm indifferent.
Like, what do you have to do to go into a booth and sound like that?
Like, nothing. I think we all can do this.
He's trying that hard. I think that's how he sounds.
And I think that's
everybody don't got that bass.
His voice is. So if he like starts putting more effort into his pen, he could really do well because he has a dope voice.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing with hip hop that I have a love-hate with. The fact that you have to say if he puts more effort into his pen. The fact is, like, the effort isn't there the way it used to be.
But some people didn't pen at all, McCray.
No, but here's the thing though. It was more of an effort back then, I feel.
Not necessarily.
Everybody back then was nice. Now it's a lot.
It was an effort.
Some people weren't great.
It was an effort back then. Like now it's more or less
to a degree. I just feel like it was
more so
you could see talent more back, like actual talent in rapping. I think now because everyone does it, right? And they're doing, because this guy, he doesn't write, but it's like obvious he doesn't write. He's not saying shit. Like, no, I like it. I like the sound. Like, he has cultivated a sound. Even he sounds different than FYOP. I like the sound. It's a new wave. But no, but this is someone I'm
clap for a nigga.
A lot of artists cannot find their sound. Meaning, like, he has a producer that produces around how he raps. So it's a sound. It's his. So this is what I'm saying. This is a disconnect, though.
But it also goes. I think it also goes. I think one of the things that we've been asking for is like metrics around like defining what's good. Like,
there
what's
are
a good
metrics,
album, blah,
though.
blah, blah. Nope. I guess I'm saying that to say it's because everyone again like reveres music differently and look for different things. So like, because you speak about sound, but everyone might not have thought to judge a new artist based off of like the sound that they're able to create.
No, I'm saying that's why he's
dimensions.
successful, though. I'm saying most artists, like young artists, they kind of, it's hard to to cultivate a sound.
But I think it's worthwhile acknowledging that. But it's not necessarily something that one was given accolades for in the past. I guess is what I'm saying. Or like everyone wouldn't think to say like, oh, like Homeboy sounds like this. So like that's why he should like.
They say he sounds like 50.
He does.
He got his style from 50. I can see
no
that.
voice,
really.
not really. When I heard him rap, I heard him rap yesterday, and I'm like, it does sound 50-esque. But if he can just focus on his pen,
he said that his inspiration was 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Pop Smoke. And the names.
Well,
what the names? Like I feel like they just.
I feel like but I feel like it's definitely like some local shit.
I feel like no, they just look at a fucking table and like.
Nah, he probably the little boy probably come up with his name in the hood.
I don't know what you just said.
I watched the interview with him. I think he said like his grandmother called him like Pop, like Lil Papa, like Pop, like that. And then like in the hood, like he was,
Smoke.
He was just
Smoke niggas. That's it.
Pop. Exactly. And then I'm out.
So now you Pop Smoke.
Oh, you
That's
see
it. Shit, pulling triggers
Bang.
and stuff. So.
Oh my God. Speaking of music, did you guys check out the Grammys?
Nope.
I didn't.
Nah, y'all boycott the Grammys too?
That was a somber day, so.
Yep. That.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, honestly.
Sorry.
With everything else.
I don't really fuck with award shows that much anyway. To really like, I don't be really like. It lost its shit with
value.
Me.
Given
I
the
used to
day,
really be on it.
Given the day, I still kind of like checked it out.
Also,
Well, how
Alicia
was it?
Keys be on that free vibe.
I thought she did well though.
She did, and I feel like she came
Because
off
I
like
saw
she
her in a couple
definitely.
moments.
Like she was high.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I loved
she
it.
Was high.
Yeah.
Spread peace.
She was like,
You
feel
can.
the
She
love
was definitely
tonight.
on the
We're
1972 vibe.
vibrating.
Yes.
Bill Walton came out. It was nice.
She did this at the Grammys.
No. She didn't light a spliff in the Grammys.
No, I'm
Oh.
saying like feel the love
Yeah.
and vibe.
Yo.
Yeah, she was
That's
like,
how it
But
was.
she's
vibing.
always like that as like some.
But I think it was
whatever quote
needed
host
for
that she
that. I
plays.
think there was.
So you think it worked?
It worked in her advantage. She definitely looked 420 all throughout.
Yeah, definitely.
But it
Why
was
not?
dope. But it was.
So that's confirmed now that like Alicia Keys be like smoking weed and shit.
Well,
I
that
feel
was
like that's
always.
been-
Yeah.
That's
That's
always
old.
I
been.
didn't know that.
People I've known within the industry said that they.
Don't y'all see?
Yeah.
She can't blow the same way. The singing doesn't come out the same way.
I think it still does.
Word.
Have y'all been listening to her music?
One.
I mean, I don't think she was ever that. She didn't have that much range anyway. She kind of
Yeah,
stayed
she was
to
very
her
powerful.
a
Yeah,
couple
a
of
lot of the-
octaves. And
Point
then,
taken.
When she would go high, it'd be more like a scream.
Yeah.
I think she knew
Point
her.
taken.
She kind of
See, you
stayed.
just come
Yeah,
with
like,
everybody.
what's the song?
I'm not
Girl on
coming for
Fire?
her, but
Yeah,
I've always
that's
said that.
screaming.
Even
I
that
thought-
was
Yeah,
it.
Girl on
Yeah,
Fire. It was a
even
lot
like
of it was
getting,
up here. It was like,
yeah,
let's come down.
so-
Let's come down a little bit.
But it was. I think she did a great job as for what the day presented. She did good.
Yeah, I saw a
be
clip of her doing her intro on the piano. It
Yeah.
seemed like everybody was like, okay, like this is like a pleasant like
Yeah.
mood to put everybody in.
And I think.
And then Boys to Men.
yeah, when she
coming
did the
out,
whole
that was
Boys
cool.
to Men thing for Kobe, that was good. That was dope.
Okay.
Fuck with Alicia Keys, man.
I always
she's
fuck with
dope.
Alicia Keys. Big crush since
Since
forever.
the braids.
Yeah, since the braids. Then once she got
bringing it
married
back
to
now.
Swiss, I'm like, you know what? That's my man Swiss. I have to kindly back out from this crush. So that was the gentleman thing to do.
Fuck that.
No, you probably like, yo, heart eye emoji.
Bro, you ain't
Fuck
doing
you,
that.
Swiss.
Word up, bro.
Nah, respect.
It's beef. It's on site now. Nah. Fuck
Nah, that's respect. That's respect.
Okay, well, I'm dying to hear your views on Gayle King. Oh, well, are we?
You know, y'all just can't do that to me. You can't have. You were talking to me in particular?
Yes.
Because you know you.
Got it. Okay, so my views are.
You're a champion.
I do feel as though the cutting of that clip, I did not watch it. I didn't have the time for it because I didn't like to see black people attacking Gayle King. And being hypocrites for the thing that they thought that she was doing. I thought it was inappropriate, but I thought as a journalist, it's her job to ask that question. So I feel like people were doing the most when she was just doing her job. I feel like her putting CBS on blast was a smart thing to do, but people like that went over everybody's head. Nobody saw what the fuck she did with that one.
I don't think it's your job
I feel like
to mention
I
that
feel like actually,
at that time.
if you are a journalist, and I'm sorry, and I'm not a journalist, when I'm gonna go to school for journalism,
Question. Wait, before you go. Wait.
I said, wait,
No,
because this is gonna be the last thing we're gonna say.
We all didn't. You saw the actual clip.
I saw a small piece of it. I did not watch the entire. I didn't watch the entire video. I didn't watch the clip. No, not the entire.
Would you like for me to
the
pull
part
up a
that
clip?
She said it,
Then why not?
when she said it. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Mamba.
continue your talk.
But the thing that I want to say, right, is
Talk
that
then.
what folks also don't recognize is that it created a space for Lisa Leslie to shut it down. So it's like it could have been used one way or another, and folks, I feel like we're so frustrated by the fact that most of the people in the world are focused on the negative aspect. It could have very well been framed so that she could have shut the shit down and say like it shouldn't be a part of his legacy because he wasn't found guilty. That was an appropriate response. Instead of focusing on the response, people decided to focus on the fact that like she was a journalist and did her job, and they didn't do that shit to white people.
But there's a reason why they focused on that.
Because she's a black woman who did it.
because she's done it before.
And I get it, but it's her job to. As a journalist, it's your job to ask the easy and the hard questions.
I don't think it is, because every time you reference Oprah, you don't have to reference smoking crack or being a prostitute.
She never smoked crack,
and that's
did
a
she?
part of your story too, but you don't have to harp on that anytime you're mentioned in any regard. And I think when someone dies,
Oprah smoked crack and was a prostitute?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
We didn't know that.
Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Exactly. Because the shit does not come up. The shit does not come up.
I need the facts.
Pull it
References.
up.
I need your
Pull it up.
references.
Pull it up.
I mean,
Pull it up.
no, but that's also
You
fair.
don't have to pull
Enjoy
that
Booger
shit
Sugar.
But
up.
Reef, but in the same regard, I would say that it's also fair if someone brought that up for
I
Oprah
don't
and
think
how
so.
she handles
I don't
that
think
is
so.
like
I don't think so.
That's real,
I
but
don't
like
think so.
I think
Especially if
just
Oprah
have a
just
difference of
died
opinion.
and you're black. If somebody tells me I don't give a fuck, CBS or whatever, and they give me that, I'm gonna be like, nah, yo. In this time period, when the shit is happening.
In 1995, Oprah Winfrey admits cocaine use.
Cocaine or crack?
You know, that's
She said
nice. Didn't Whitney say that? It was cocaine.
she said crack is cheap.
Yeah,
and she got money.
I never thought Whitney smoked crack.
At some point in time, we got to discuss that reality.
Now,
show.
Wendy
have you
Williams
ever
too.
watched
You really don't
Bobby
think-
and
I
Whitney.
think she
That's what I'm saying.
I think
At some
she
point in time, we
skied
got
up.
to discuss that show.
That was crack.
That was crack?
They were
You
on
never-
a drug, okay?
You
A
never
big
saw
drug.
that show?
1995,
Yeah, I
Los
know the
Angeles
show.
Times. Oprah Winfrey admitted on her talk show Friday that she used cocaine years ago, and that even though she quit, it has been a great big secret that has always been held over her head.
I can't
think-
see Oprah smoking crack.
I think it's
It
fair.
must have been coke.
I think it's fair if it comes up if somebody's
But
doing an
anyway.
autobiography of her.
And she
And
also
so
stated in
hope-
the interview how she.
So
used
don't
to
get
when
me
she was
wrong.
white.
I think the death thing as well that plays a role, but I also feel as though
When Whitney died, you ain't need to talk about crack. Like if they was talking about her within the next days, and then she used to smoke
Actually,
crack
you
too.
did need to
Nah.
talk about
because
crack.
she might have died from a crack.
She
I don't
drunk.
think
She
so.
OD'd like that.
Okay, true, you're right. But
I can-
but
she OD'd
because
from
that
crack?
is cause of death.
She
That's
was
cause
on-
of death.
Pills.
Nah,
She
I
was
don't
on.
know.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
she-
She was
she
on
was high
pills,
from
but she was
something.
also. She also had weed. She had
She had cocaine in
She
her
was high
system
from
too.
something. She was high from something.
I can play the clip if you guys want.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
in the WNBA. It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of the sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player?
It's not complicated for me at all. Even if there's a few times that we've been at a club at the same time. Kobe's not the kind of guy, never been like, you know, Lisa, go get that girl or tell her or send her this. I have other NBA friends that are like that. Kobe's, he was never like that. I just never have ever seen him being the kind of person that would do something to violate a woman or be aggressive in that way. That's just not the person that I know.
But Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you.
See,
So I think you could have stopped
now,
there.
Hold up. Now, yeah, right there.
You
She
could have
didn't
just
because
stopped.
now you're baiting. Like you
beasting.
She
You
didn't have to
fiending
say,
for it.
but you wouldn't see it. So now you're convicting.
But I do feel like her initial framing of the question
was fine.
But I think, but
I'm sorry,
I don't
Key,
think that
there's no
there's.
but
Are
after
you?
that.
Do you want to allow me to say what I'm saying and before you tell me that
You
there's not a but?
can. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
think the initial framing of her question, I think that no one spent time like speaking about how she framed the question. She acknowledged in the question framing that like the charges were dismissed. She actually said that it's been said by other people that like it creates a complicated situation for his legacy, like despite the fact that like the charges were dismissed. When I feel like it could have been framed in a more effed up way. So I think that there were some considerations that were taken despite the fact
follow-up.
and I think the follow up was some bullshit as well. Don't get me wrong.
No, I'm saying
But-
that the initial question, now hearing it myself, it doesn't. That sounds journalistic.
Yeah.
The follow-up question is not necessary. That's what people.
There's a little bit more
Because
to
now
it.
it's like it sounds like you're convicting him. Like
It's almost like she didn't get the response she wanted wanted.
Right.
She wanted her to put it a different way.
Sound like she was fishing.
You wouldn't see it though.
You wouldn't see it though.
But I feel like that's a valid point because if that's your
It's
friend,
not something that you gonna see in the club, and that's the reference that she gave. When I was in the club, I didn't see him. Girl, you ain't gonna see that in the club. Ain't nobody gonna be assaulting nobody in the club. Everybody's gonna go up to him in the club.
You would see it.
I think that's definitely a
defending his
place where you
character.
might see that.
You would
if
see that
if
in
you're
the
not
club.
gonna see a
Men
predator
don't ever
act
be
like
aggressive in the
that,
club.
where you gonna see them act like that? Like
You would see it.
I don't
she's saying, I've
necessarily
seen
think
him
the
in the most
framing was
predatory
too-
of positions
Exactly.
where you're supposed to be out fishing for ass and he's chilling. So like, if you're gonna like, if I've seen him in the most
She didn't
in
have
that
to say you
position and
wouldn't
he's
see it.
chilling.
I get
Yeah.
that. I get that. I completely get that part too. But I just don't. I think the type of disrespect that she received was also not necessary.
know
Do you
why?
feel like she needed
And-
to get death threats and all that?
And to be
for-
called a bitch.
You know
by,
why?
like, come on, that's
two things with that, right? I
Yeah.
think that's because he was loved by more than just us.
Yeah.
I think that those threats are coming from more than just us. I think it wasn't carefully thought out. I also think that, I correlate. When I first heard it, I didn't hear the actual clip. I heard that she did that, and I correlated that to, I didn't respect the R. Kelly interview. I thought that was like a nail in the coffin. I thought it was a mockery. I thought that it came out of nowhere, and it was a setup. You know that I'm very anti-R. Kelly. So it wasn't necessary. And what she got from it, right, was praise because you basically made him look like a fool. Like he made himself be a fool, but you made him. That interview was a complete mockery. And after that interview, he was already guilty. So now I had a problem with that. And the correlation is that you were willing to do that in that stance. The people were cool with it because it was R. Kelly, but it's the same thing. She's being attacked because you seem to have, you're tapping on these things with black men in particular. That is where the attack came from, and because Kobe was loved and you brought up the situation in his death, that's why she's being attacked because you got a $10 million bag for that interview. So what did you think? Did you R. Kelly? Okay. She got a big bag from CBS. So did you? This is what I'm trying to say. From my standpoint, when I heard about that interview, I'm like, we didn't need this. So now you got R. Kelly, all these stupid memes of him, like going around.
I don't feel sorry for him though.
I'm not feeling sorry. I'm saying integrity.
Not for him. Yeah, it's
I'm
for
saying
overall.
It's integrity just as a black person in that position. So common sense. Wait, hold up. Wait. Common sense to her though. When you got the bag and you did that, what do you think is next? You threw CBS under the bus because they're also the ones who made you do the R. Kelly interview. It was not promoted. It came out of nowhere. That's what I don't see how you don't see the correlation. It's the same thing. It's kicking a man while he's down.
So I'm wondering,
black men in particular.
But I guess I understand the theme around like black men, and I think as black women, like naturally we feel more inclined to recognize those types of things. But I feel like that is the job of a journalist, right? To get the best interviews for the shit that people are talking about at that point in time. And if it's some bullshit, exploiting it, and and otherwise. But I think there's a lot of responsibility that's put on Gayle King because she's a black woman, and I think people need to think about that and bring themselves down a bit. Because I don't know of any other. I don't think people understand how big of a deal it is for her to sit in the seat that she's sitting in, and she could use it positively and negatively. And I'm not one who watches her regularly to say how it is that she uses that platform, but I can say even just based off of hearing that again, that I don't think that there was distaste with that. Even with the R. Kelly one, for me, I can't compare it because he should have just made the choice to sit his ass home. You don't go and take an interview when you know you ain't shit. Period. Because you're there for everyone to exploit.
Timing. He took the interview because it was at the peak moment of
his ass. Somebody should have advised him. It was not her responsibility to make him look bad.
But that's where I'm saying,
I feel like
we
just put that on.
Saying, as a journalist, journalistic integrity, right? I'm saying that was not necessary. I'm saying that to me, it was not promoted on purpose. It came out of nowhere because its intentions was to make a mockery. So I'm saying as her, she's an intelligent woman. You know that you were given this opportunity and you got all this praise because everyone's hate was anti-R. Kelly. The next thing is to keep doing it. So now you're in the position. That's why
naturally, but I don't think. But I don't think that this interview was about bashing. It was not necessarily the same thing. And I think you just took an interview that was about a man who was accused of like whatever the fuck he was accused of,
Yeah.
and took a snippet of a question that was being asked and compared them because of how the world blew up that question. And
The
like,
question
despite the fact that we
initially,
just
as a
listened to
journalist,
it,
I don't have a problem with. What I have a problem with now in hearing it is the follow-up. The follow-up is implying that he's guilty. That's the issue that everyone has a problem with.
And I don't necessarily think that she was implying that he was guilty. I think what she said, like, I think what she was trying to do was give more, like, substance to,
So you
to
know
the
what?
question
Then
that
you
was being.
own that. Don't put that on CBS. Then you own that. You chose to do that.
And
then
with
you
all
own
due,
that.
but with all due respect, again, it goes to that surface level shit with us, where like we forget that these people are also being paid by these networks
and
to do
she
a
was
job.
also told to do the same thing in the
So
R.
she
Kelly
probably had
interview.
to ask-
So you ate that because you were praised for it because no one cared about him. But now that people care about this particular man, you're putting it on the own. No, the onus is on you as a journalist because she could have also decided not to do it.
That follow-up
But I
question
don't. But
isn't
I would
scripted.
not do
that
it.
Follow-up
I would
question
not
wasn't
scripted.
scripted. Maybe that first one to say, "Yo, his legacy is complicated," but that follow-up of you trying
That's
to
fair.
bait for that shit
That's
is not
fair.
scripted.
That's fair.
Like, own
and I
it.
also
Own
think that
it.
the world is like being unfair to a black woman who has a job and who's doing her damn job.
But for
I think
What
y'all
I'm
need to get the fuck
saying
over
is,
yourselves
what I'm
and
saying
stop
is,
putting all that
you
responsibility on
can't
this
pull
woman.
a black card as defense.
But I don't
when
think
you're
she
out
did.
there
I
trying
don't think
to
she
attack.
did.
Nah, but that's what. Who was the lady that was trying to get on Snoop? Oh, don't do this to no black
I
woman.
mean, that's
black people
what-
can't
that's
come
what that
defend
black
you
woman
when you
did.
killing our heroes.
She didn't kill him.
Yes,
She
you
didn't
did.
kill him.
Yes, you did, man.
She didn't
You
kill
don't
him.
need to- You
So
don't need to bring that
I
up
think
in
there's a
that
lot of
time.
misplaced anger
You
on
don't
this
need to
woman
bring
who
that up
didn't do anything.
in that time. So much shit
Y'all
that
need
happened in his
y'all
career,
need to,
and that's
like-
what you need to bring up 48 hours after
right,
he
let me say
died.
this.
Like, damn, and you a black woman, and y'all consistently have this energy of trying to come at black men with the shit with
got-
R.
in the
Kelly,
very same way
with
that
Michael
it was
Jackson,
okay for y'all
with
to call her
Kobe
a
Bryant,
bitch on-
but you don't say shit about Weinstein. That's what people are mad
I
at.
think
That
that's
you
fair.
consistently come with this energy towards black men when you have a right. Like, it's almost.
But black men also easily called
if
her a
y'all
bitch
not-
on TV,
But if
and they
y'all,
don't
if
do
y'all
that
not
shit to
protecting
other,
us,
to
who
other women.
will?
But black men
if
also
Gayle and Oprah ain't
quickly
protecting us,
attacked
who will? Like,
But
damn.
black men
y'all-
quickly called her a bitch on television, and so maybe that is why there's
Cause you
separation.
basically called Kobe a bitch,
She
but for lack
didn't.
of a better
That's
term.
That's not what she said.
Well,
She
you
called him a
wouldn't
rape-
see that.
she implied he
Damn,
was a
for
rapist.
real, lady.
She didn't call him a rapist. All she said is it's not something that
In
you
so
would
many
see.
words.
It's not something
What
that you
does-
would
so
see.
many
All right, wait.
words.
What does that imply, please? Somebody
Well,
DM me.
you
What does
guys
that
wanted
imply?
to
That is
interject.
not
I say-
easy to be able to discern the
And then when you're going to keep it real, and then when you're going to really keep it real, like if you're a journalist and you really investigated the case, you'll see that the girl was a prostitute, and they threw the case out because it didn't even get to trial. He didn't get found not guilty. They threw the shit out because the girl was a prostitute. Like the case had no merit. So if you did your journalistic
we're not
duty-
living in a country that already doesn't
So
take
come
like
on.
sexual assault seriously.
But let's
right?
not try to act
why
like-
are
like
you?
if you
But
really-
why are you?
if we really
Why
gonna
do you
come
come and
like-
defend this with the idea that she was a prostitute? That also holds no bearing.
Because
right?
no, it
That
does
also holds
because
no
there's
bearing.
because there's a huge
What, it's
difference
okay because
between
she ain't dead? Like that's bullshit.
no, because it's a
Y'all
huge
gotta come-
difference
like,
between
if you're gonna
raping
come,
somebody
it's gonna be
and
correct.
it's a difference between being a rapist and someone that partakes in paying for sex.
What do you got?
It may not be the most commendable thing, but I think that's crazy. Like a rapist is the worst thing you could be.
What do you guys think?
I personally, I don't have a problem with the interview. I feel like she was being a journalist. And with the follow-up question, what I think is that when somebody is close to you and you have a close connection with them, sometimes you overlook certain things or you don't see certain things because they're that close to you. So I feel like when she was asking that, it was also, I think it was just a way for giving Lisa a way to speak up about her friend and say her friend how she saw him.
But then it could have been said, well, do you think that you would have seen it as opposed to you wouldn't see it? That's more firm.
To me, it sounds like you have a problem with her journalistic like style rather than
not style,
like
but
her
integrity.
format and the way that she presents her questions. Because I feel like you had the same issue with the way she was asking R. Kelly questions as well.
Not the way. I'm saying that the interview in itself, I didn't praise it like the world did just because it was anti R. Kelly. I was already anti R. Kelly. So I'm saying as someone who was already on the hate train, right? I didn't need this interview. The interview, it made me, I'm a journalist, right? I'm looking at her as a journalist who's in a higher field, right? And right away, what clicked to me is you sold out. You didn't have to do that. And why, I could be wrong, but I'm saying because it was not promoted. It literally came out of the blue the next day.
I thought he asked for the interview.
Yeah, but it wasn't advertised like tune in tonight. It was like maybe on the day
Shit,
of.
At least they prevented that shit from happening. For
did
me, that
they?
looks
Well,
like a plus.
But that's
Not promoting
suspect
that
to
shit.
me. That's suspect to me because that's like you were some kind of way Gayle King ended up with the R. Kelly interview. It's a big deal. Automatically, you get props because you're doing this big. You're interviewing R. Kelly at the peak right before he went to jail like 2 days after this interview. That's another thing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's just it doesn't. The sequence of events, I'm like, Gayle, we didn't need this from Gayle.
But now we're also like interpreting and peeling back layers from things that we normally wouldn't. Like,
That's
did
mine,
we
that's
need that
me.
interview? Like,
Yeah,
but,
and it's also like,
when
did
the
she
reality
have
is-
any like real control over those things? Like the fact that they set up the interview and that it was 2 days
No,
before
I think
he went to
that
jail.
that's
and-
agenda is what I'm saying. I'm thinking
Oh, yeah.
that I'm thinking that she was happy to have gotten this interview. Everyone probably wanted this interview. No one else got that interview but her. And immediately after, because she got so much praise for it because he made a fucking fool of himself, she got a bag for it. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying my train of thought.
I'd rather her
So
ass get a bag than a white chick.
I mean, whatever. But I'm saying that he made a fool of himself. She gets a bag, and then the next interview is
little
you're
bit.
interviewing Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant. And now, as a journalist, you're right. You have a right. I thought about it. Right in his death, the good and bad will always come up by default.
Right.
But this is where we differ, and I guess that's why it's harder for me to make a transition back to corporate. I personally would not have done it. That's all I'm
fair to
saying.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely fair to say.
That's fair to say.
Like-
I don't think
And
it's
I'm
fair
put-
for the world to condemn her for
So
having
I'm
done
saying, so I'm saying that me personally not doing it, I'm putting that on her, accountability on her, as that's where I'm putting responsibility on her as a black journalist in that position. Leave that alone. The question in hearing it, I don't have a problem with the question, but what triggered me was the firm you wouldn't see it,
Yeah.
the probing.
And
It's
there's
like
a little bit more too.
Yeah.
That's
it's
not
more
where
to
ends.
it. It's
like,
more
she's
to
like,
it.
she's
She's
hoping
going,
for it.
and
Yeah.
then now it makes you
But-
wait. Now it makes you throwing CBS on, because see, in my brain it was already CBS. It was CBS who told you from R. Kelly. So you giving CBS that didn't shock me. That is now, as we talk about it, it makes me feel like you didn't just own it. Own it as a journalist.
And so another thing is, I feel like in what she shared, I don't think this is recording. Whatever. I don't know if she owned
hear you.
it. I feel like there was remorse, but I think a greater point that I want to make is I feel like we watch enough movies and things of that nature, and we're around enough humans to also know that like we can't account for the things that happen behind the scenes. And I can't imagine a black person walking in this world and not carrying the fact that they're black like on their backs every day. And so we act as though like there couldn't have been a conversation behind the scenes where it's just like you have to like you
need to
like
ask
you
this
better
question.
go in. You know what I mean?
But then
But
also,
particularly because she is black, though, we're gonna get the black woman to do it.
but I mean, I think also like Lisa Leslie also could have said, "Don't ask me this shit." Like she was well
I
within
don't
her
think-
right.
You think? Oh, you mean like in responding?
Yeah, like-
responding?
She could have
Not
been like,
even.
I don't.
I mean,
Or, like,
she, before the
pre-interview.
interview,
Oh,
plenty
they
of
do get the
people have
questions.
say like, you can ask
I
me
don't wanna
this,
be asked
this,
about
and
this.
this, but don't ask me this.
But maybe she also
She's
felt like
thinking
she
that
was
she's
capable
there.
of defending her friend. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And
Even
maybe
when
that
this
was the
question is
intent.
asked. Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
that whole thing is like the elephant in the room. So
Yeah.
even if it's not said, people are still thinking about it. It's like, unfortunately, it's a blemish or it's a blip on his whole legacy.
Right.
It doesn't define his whole legacy, but it's something that, like, when you think of Kobe, in addition to him being like an all-star player, you know what I'm saying, also his work after he retired, like the Mamba mentality, there's also that thing like, oh, well, he did get accused of rape. Like,
But then he
And
did,
not,
but
and,
then I
and just
realized that
minutes
was
after
doing
he passed away, people were talking about it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's
But
also
more
about
so
talking
the-
about it to control the
but I felt
narrative
like
of
it was
how it's being talked
a
about
specific
too.
groups of people were talking about it, and then you compare that. So you have feminists that were right away like
Upset.
on it,
Yeah.
like just being disrespectful.
Yeah.
Then you have, you know,
The comedian
not
who was
like
he was
not
happy that he was
non-black
dead.
people that were being kind of like
Ain't
you know
nobody like that
happy.
comedian.
They're cracking jokes about the death. I saw things like that. So that's why I'm saying that so much is being placed on her because it's like you know, and then
But is that
she's
And then
also
her timing
is it
wasn't the
fair?
perfect.
but she
wasn't
also
the
gets
best.
connected to
Yeah.
Oprah by default. So you got the R. Kelly interview, and then you also get, like he just said, the Michael Jackson thing with
Yeah.
Oprah.
Are those things fair though?
It's not
They're-
fair. Life isn't fair.
How is it
My
not
point-
fair?
But then hold up. But then
That's
Oprah.
Y'all,
y'all
I'm
hold
sorry,
up.
for
But
energy.
then
y'all to be
Oprah,
black people, that's crazy.
life isn't fair.
How?
You're right.
But then Oprah.
Y'all whole
but then
energy
Life
is
isn't fair, so
that.
then y'all get over it. Y'all get over the fact that she did the interview and she got a bag for it. She did.
No,
I
she
ain't get over the fact that I'm calling you a bitch afterwards.
I guess she has to,
I
right?
got the right. That's what
I
I'm
guess she
saying.
has
Like
to, 'cause life
Snoop,
isn't
I
fair.
felt,
This
I
is what
felt
also-
Snoop. Like,
this is
bitch,
what
you
also makes
playing
it-
us.
This is what also makes
I'm
it
over
whack
this
though.
conversation because this is like,
No, but
this
then Oprah
continues to be a
said
perpetuation
that
of, like,
she covered up. Said this is again no accountability. This is my problem with them as women in power. Accountability is my issue with Oprah as well. After she threw CBS under the bus, what did Oprah say? Oh, Gayle is bugging the fuck out. Like she's
someone asked her a question and she said she's not doing well.
She said she's not doing well.
She's not handling it well.
I don't think Vanessa
Who
Bryant
who the
and
fuck would
Natalia
handle
Bryant
getting death threats
and
well?
Bianca Bryant.
They
and
weren't. And it's
Capri
two
Bryant's
different
doing well
situations.
either.
Stop comparing things that don't make sense.
Can I just say something?
How are they not? Like, you bring up, I feel like you have some sort of responsibility as a black person, as the top black gatekeepers of journalism, to try to protect our integrity. And someone whose
I don't think
career
she
was
didn't
so
do it.
great and acting like you live in America, like you can't be accused of a white woman of rape. Like,
Yeah.
this ain't the first time this shit has happened. For you to resort to that 48 hours after the man died, I feel like it's very disrespectful, man.
I feel like
you have a
everyone was doing it, and
responsibility
you guys
to try
decided
to
to let the
uplift
black
us.
women.
But I feel like it's your responsibility as the top black gatekeepers, as the mothers, quote unquote, of the whole shit,
So
to
now
try
that
to
your
protect
mamas-
us. They are. She's the top.
But
You know,
what
no
about
matter whether you
Charles
like it or
Barkley?
not.
Oh, Charles Barkley, Lord.
What
You
happened?
heard about him?
Charles Barkley, what?
Did
Charles
some
Barkley
coon,
did
his
some,
typical coon shit. He's been a coon all his life.
and
though.
nobody's on his ass.
What did he do?
Because he's a black man.
Huh?
I don't
but
think
that's-
Charles
and that's what we
Barkley.
do.
I don't know what Charles Barkley
Oh, he
did.
said that you
He
have
said
to
Kobe
acknowledge
Bryant.
both.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge
that he
both.
was-
We're
that-
not trying to make Kobe Bryant into a
A
hero.
I mean,
don't do
one.
Nah, you
I don't
can't.
think,
Nah, I want the same energy.
He's not a journalist though. He's not a journalist. Like, I don't.
It's not
Again,
the point,
again,
though.
I
It's still a
think
platform.
we started the
It's still a
show
platform.
before we even got into this.
Yeah.
I said, do we hold 50 Cent and Oprah to the same degree of, you know, what we're holding them
But this is
accountable
his
for?
peers,
I don't
though.
really
But
hold
he's a-
Charles Barkley, but what I'm saying is Charles Barkley's not the most intelligent person. Like, I'm not looking to Charles
That is
Barkley
a
for
point. He's
insight.
not.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not looking at him for insight and that kind of thing. He's
right.
not the gatekeeper of black journalism.
But
you
is Gayle
are
the gatekeeper?
So, like,
I don't
black
think
men?
kind
Gayle
of.
is either.
She's like the gatekeeper. She's like the gatekeeper sidekick. She like Robin. You know what I'm
But,
saying?
like,
It's
She
it's
got all the
Batman,
keys.
like,
Let's just say that.
yeah.
She got the keys.
She
Yeah.
Alfred. She's somebody within
Somebody
the
locked
I
out.
hope y'all
She
feel
was
the
like, hey,
same-
I
I
got
hope
the-
y'all
like,
feel the
she
same
got
way the
it.
next time we're talking about whether or not like Fabulous should be held to a degree of accountability.
All right,
for
wait,
making
wait,
something-
wait,
that,
wait,
though.
wait, wait,
Nope,
wait.
nope, nope. Give
Wait,
me a
wait.
moment.
I'm always on the
Give
same
me a
side.
moment.
I was asking for a moment 10 minutes ago.
This, like, I feel like like we can continue to perpetuate hypocrisy with like holding people to different standards, and I think that's fucked up.
I don't. I hold everyone to the same
But
standard.
let me just.
Nah, Obama and Fabulous, we gotta hold to two different standards.
Wait,
man.
wait.
Oh no,
You know
no,
what I'm
but
saying?
I'm
Like,
saying
this
the
is-
concept. People do that. People love picking and choosing. I'm saying I'm not a picker and chooser. I said the same thing about Fabulous. I hold them accountable. But see, you have to have a certain centricity though to know that as a black person, that black centricity is when your core thought puts black first. So if you're in positions and you're not putting black first, that's because your centricity is not black.
So you're saying her centricity is not black, essentially.
and I feel
It's
like,
bad.
but I also feel
I
like
don't
if
know.
we're saying that she's a gatekeeper for intellect,
No, we're not saying that.
For journalists,
So-
I think
I
she
think
is
she
can't
though.
got
have
the-
it.
she
Yeah,
got
we
the
can't have it
alley-oop,
all the
yo.
ways,
She got the
y'all.
alley-oop.
I don't
I
think
didn't
she's
say
a
that. I didn't say that.
gatekeeper. I don't think she's a gatekeeper. And honestly, I don't even fuck with Oprah either because I don't really think Oprah.
I don't,
I don't.
but
I don't really
I
feel like
don't.
Oprah's for the people. I think Oprah's
She's
about
not.
her money.
But is she not a gatekeeper? Like,
To white people,
Mm.
who love Oprah? White people, white women.
She loves Oprah.
so it's funny, right? But you know what? You used to
Yeah,
call
I
yourself
fuck
Young
with you,
Oprah.
though.
I did.
And
then
it's not that I don't.
I own it.
Hear me
I
out.
Young
Hear me
Oprah,
out.
though. Young
It's not
Oprah.
that I don't.
The Oprah that we fell in love with.
It's not that I'm in love with Oprah. I never used to watch the Oprah show.
a
Never
joke, man. It's a
never cared
joke.
about all that shit. But what I don't like is like bashing black women.
I feel
And
you
I'm
on that.
consistent
I don't
about
wanna
that.
do
with you on that.
I'm
But-
very
I'm with you on that.
consistent
It's not
about that.
bashing.
So
But we could bash
I'm
black
letting
men.
you
It
know
gotta
how
be
I feel.
consistent.
My issue with the whole thing is like the the extent that the reactions went to, like the death threats, like name calling, like I feel like that's excessive. Like I feel like you can comment and make your opinion on how you feel like the interview went.
Seen what you did
and
there.
of course, you see what I'm doing? No. Okay. And of course, like the purpose of the interview is to spark reaction. Like I feel like you can comment on that, but when you take it to the next level, when you're like putting threats on somebody's life and like calling them out their name and all of that, I
think
feel like
Snoop was OD.
Yeah, I mean,
My
'cause
bad. I think Snoop.
Yeah,
was
we got into it on
And the
social
fact that
media.
most
I ain't
folks
watched
didn't
it.
jump out and say like, "Yo, you wild, disrespectful." Like you sitting
But
down
that's
here
the
talking about
misogyny, though.
you sitting down here
It
talking
is,
about
because
oh,
Snoop doesn't
defend
keep
the
that
culture,
same
defend
energy
the culture
with everybody.
Right.
And the men that he does keep that same energy with, they're seen as bitches. No disrespect. Like Kanye, everyone was anti-Kanye. People think he's soft now because of the whole whatever. So you can diss Kanye. You can diss, another black guy who's not overly aggressive or overly masculine, but you're gonna go in on I didn't.
Nah, Snoop went in on.
On who? On who?
He went on Suge.
Suge
Stop
locked
it.
Suge
up.
Knight.
He didn't go.
Stop
He didn't
it.
go up on Suge when he was outside.
Don't get pimp slapped. You don't remember that song?
But what's comparable? Like,
Yeah, I mean-
what black man has something comparable to what like that should have been going off like the way Gayle's
lot
going
of-
off? Like,
Yeah,
I
it
feel
was
like
just
that's
wrong.
one of our top heroes, man. For a
It was
But
just wrong.
you know what?
Like,
what
that
I,
shit was crazy.
I feel like black women don't do that to black men though. I feel like this
We
that
don't.
happened
We
is
don't.
the extreme to which we saw, and you saw what happened. She got called
Because
a bitch.
that's the
She didn't even
misogyny,
call
though.
him out of his name.
Yeah.
Yo.
Out
I
in
feel
so
like she
many
didn't.
words.
You could have disagreed with her and
Yes.
not called her a bitch.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
So
went
for
on-
me,
That's my
that is the
issue.
epitome of the
Yeah,
type of
I feel you.
disrespect that black women experience in this
I feel
country.
you.
For people to be asking for people to be the holders or the mothers of the fuck this, fuck that. After all of that,
Did it
who
take
wants to
that
have
for you
do
to
that?
know how passionate people were about Kobe Bryant, though? Like,
But
I
can
don't
we?
understand
But
that.
before
I don't
we
understand
even,
that. oh my God,
let him-
before-
people care this much? Like, I don't like.
But before we
you-
crucify
that's
Snoop,
crazy?
he did go back
I ain't
and he
crucify Snoop.
I'm just saying he did apologize.
Well, then a
I
lot of
wouldn't
people I know
apologize
feel
shit.
like
he
now to
and
me,
he
I'm,
apologized.
I wouldn't
but people feel
apologize
like
shit.
that was. I heard he got pressed to
Of course
apologize.
he got pressed.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
His
so
PR was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
Right.
Said his mom's.
Like, bro, you
but
on a
it
show
was
with
more than
Martha
his
Stewart.
mom.
Pretty sure his wife too.
They was on his
Yo.
ass.
Pretty sure his wife
Them
too.
people was on his ass.
Right? What are you doing?
But
Martha was probably
The
like,
People who signed them
Oh,
checks.
Sitting up baking
Right.
cookies
Yeah.
with fucking Martha
Yeah,
and
you're
calling
right.
Gayle a
Martha
bitch.
was like,
Exactly.
Snoop, you
That's
have to
mad fucking.
apologize
That's your
now.
auntie.
You right.
If you want to
He
look
was
at
like,
it that way.
Just say this.
And that's
During
real,
the-
and that's
during the
real.
last potluck.
But luckily, I don't got a show with Martha Stewart. So listen,
Yeah.
nah, I ain't gonna. Fuck.
Is this thing on?
You know what, though?
Fuck that.
This is Snoop
But
Dizzle.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
But you know what?
Alright, Jolly
When he
Pies.
first did the blog, it was no issue with that.
Yeah.
I think the step further when he went to her IG and had to call her out her name, because in the blog he was more respectful. Like he kind of asked permission. Like can I call her a bitch?
Yeah.
But then the next day you go and you curse her out on the
Full
IG.
throttle.
I'm like, that's the misogyny. Though.
But I think you got to understand too. I think this situation also speaks to how black men's grieve, how we're grieving, and how we tend to express ourselves.
I think
And
black people in general. Though.
Yeah, but I mean more specifically black men. I'm
I
not
feel
trying to
like
make an excuse.
For
Yeah, I
black
say-
men, the only acceptable feeling is anger. That's the only thing y'all allow.
And that's what.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not. I'm just I'm putting it out there as this is pretty much a scope on that. And with Snoop saying that initially, I had no qualms with it because it came from an impulsive emotional, feeling. Like people. He had a
All these
relation.
black kids was out here.
He had a relationship with Kobe, so him feeling that
the
and
one
seeing
thing
that
was enough.
but
when
I
he
feel
was
you.
more respectful.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I'm not mad at people who are cheering him on for doing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I read it, I'm like, this is OD because you
Yeah.
don't give this energy to men. Like men on your same, you don't
Most
do that.
men who do that
Most
shit
men
don't.
They don't. Only person who does it all around the board is
50
50
maybe.
50
That's
Cent.
him. That's a
I
person.
just think with this whole situation, the fact that it being Kobe Bryant and that whole thing, that's the reaction that you got. But also to Gayle's point,
Nah,
He
but
wouldn't
I
have
don't
got
mean to
checked
cut
if he
nobody
didn't do
off.
that.
When Storm Buckwild did that shit with Aaliyah right afterwards,
With the
everybody
Aaliyah
was
Jet?
coming for their neck.
Yeah.
That was
Everybody was
crazy.
coming for their neck. Is what I'm saying. When you disrespect people, man, woman, or nothing, we feel like we coming for you. If you come for our icons, we coming for you. And I don't think it's specifically because she was a woman. If Don Lemon or you know, whatever
The
black
only
journalist
person-
male would have did that shit, we would have been coming for him too. And it's just
Nah,
a bitch
real
because you're
talk.
a woman. I would have said that with whoever. I don't know
Didn't
about
even
Snoop,
know that Charles
but me,
Barkley was
whoever.
talking shit.
I feel
I don't
like the
know.
only
I don't give a fuck
man-
what Charles Barkley says. Though I'm talking about people that actually count. Like Charles Barkley is a fucking. I mean, Charles Barkley is dumb.
'Cause
like,
honestly,
for
he
lack
says a
of
lot
better
of dumb
term,
shit.
bro. Like like he's
he's
entertaining.
been
They
crowned
put him
He's
there
ignorant.
because like
He's
he's
extremely
dumb
ignorant.
as shit. So like I'm not looking for him for anything intellectual at all.
But why shouldn't we hold him accountable? He's part of our black people.
Yeah, he
like
has
whether
some type
you
of
like it or
influence.
not, he has influence.
But it's the equivalent of going down to your fucking
true.
corner store and putting a microphone and getting an opinion from that dude. It's like how
It's
much
not.
he
No,
It might.
it's
It
not.
might. It
No, it's
is.
not. No, it's
but
not.
when I'm
Charles
saying,
Barkley?
I'm saying level of intellect is what I'm saying. Like it may be funny and you may put that guy
But
on
in-
TV because it'll get ratings, but he's not fucking like.
You have
But
to
in
Intellect
terms
is
of-
not
Gayle
what
knows better.
Intellect
She
is not
knows
what
better.
dictates TV.
But
TV
in terms
time.
of like
Yeah, we know
impression, though, like Charles Barkley does have a following. People,
That's
true.
Yeah.
People listen to him
And
whether
he's
you like
respected.
it. Yeah,
That's why when I saw it, I was
Well,
like, oh,
Charles
God.
Barkley, you's a fat bitch wherever you at right now. Just to clear this up, if you listen to this shit, Kobe Bryant was 1,000 times better than your fat bitch ass ever was. You spit on little girls. You spit on little girls. Yes, he did, and you could Google that if you want. Charles
not.
Barkley spit on little girls.
I
when
don't
he
wanna
was
put
the
that in my
NBA.
history.
So you talking about these false accusations that he was proved 1,000% innocent of is bullshit. Fuck you, you fat bitch. So let's just let's
right,
just
yeah,
establish
So
that.
Gayle was
Charles Barkley.
All right, so
Gayle-
If we
Gayle
don't
was
get it right, yeah, because I'm not gonna
So
be
we
a
off it,
hypocrite
we
with
off
it.
it.
It don't
We gonna
matter.
wrap it
Yeah, anybody, man, woman, it's just about who you disrespected. I don't never bring that type of energy towards women. That's not my shit at all. It was just I feel like you disrespected Kobe.
And
So
that's
like,
possible.
if you was a bitch, it
I
just
just-
came out like that. Just because you was, you know, we just trying to be disrespectful now. But I don't bring that kind of energy towards women at all.
Yeah. So we kind of had a discourse on social media, and I realized how disrespectful he came off, and I don't agree to the measure that he said, you know, called her a bitch or whatever the case is. However, I do feel like she was a bit insensitive. That's what I mean. I was just
saying, however.
I never know with you, so I'm just trying to be ready, you know. But I'm just saying, like, all right. So I correlate to this. This is gonna be way off, but whatever. I used to work at Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx, right?
Oh.
Shout out. Right. And one of my duties, I worked. You can Google that. I used to work in the finance department, and what that consists of. So if anybody had any type of injury or whatever, I'd have to sort out their medical information, no matter what. So in this particular instance, I was working in the booth that's where you get the ambulance, right? And there was a mom who was pretty much in hysteric, like her son got hit by a car or something like that. So I have to get that information, you know what I mean? So the protocol is no matter what, like if they're grieving, you have to ask them certain questions, things like that. I never felt comfortable. So what I would always do, I would always consult them and say, hey, or console them. I say, I'm going to give you a couple minutes, but just know I have to come back to ask you these questions. So if there's anything that you need, just let me know, but I'll give you your time. I know what my job entailed. I know I had to get that information. So I correlate that to Gayle, meaning like she knows that's her duty to ask these questions. But you also have to assess the situation, understand that this isn't the moment to ask that type of question or even go that route, because the world is grieving, not just like,
Agreed.
you know what I'm saying, also a family, because outside of him being a dope basketball player and a philanthropist, academy, he's a father, a husband. You know what I'm saying? You got to think of what their lives are like, seeing that in their world. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that wasn't really assessed. So all of the frustration came from the basketball community, because it's like, you pretty much are trying to change the narrative of our hero. So I just think it was just insensitive. It wasn't well thought out.
I feel like that's fair. I don't necessarily know if it wasn't thought out listening to the framing of the first question.
I don't know. I just think overall.
I hear it.
Overall, I think
hear
it was.
And I also recognize this world is a real fucked up place, right?
Oh, definitely.
And for that,
she doesn't deserve death threats.
For CBS it's CBS, right?
I think so.
Whatever they are. For them as a
CBS in the
company,
morning.
for that to be like also the clip that they led with. Like it just speaks volumes, right? And
Because
you always
they
speak
knew.
about
They
click.
know.
You always speak
know.
about click
She
culture,
knew
right?
too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's not.
because she's
But
the
in
person
order
in the
to
clip.
create the click, right, there needs to be a framing of a question, and even if it's answered in the best of its light, like one would presume that like there might be someone in an earphone or whatever the case is, or like whatever the case may be, saying like your best in, like you ought to not go easy in asking the questions. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that like living in the world that we live in, watching the shit that we watch, I wouldn't put it past it. So I think I would just encourage the world to be a little bit more like empathetic and open-minded.
But she should know better.
And understanding.
But she should know better.
I heard that part, McCray. I heard you.
But just like we hear that part, but you got to hear that part again, too.
Just like we don't necessarily know if she didn't know better, right?
I'm willing to go with...
I think the world just needs to be a little bit more empathetic and understanding and, like, open themselves up to understanding that we also don't always know. We also don't always know what the hell is happening behind the scenes.
But now that you said that, the way you put that was good because that's how I feel oftentimes when I'm doing interviews, right? And if it's a touchy thing, I'm like...
How am I gonna...
Like when you interview math.
Right, it's a vibe. Right. I know what I want to ask. And sometimes I consciously don't ask the question if I'm not getting a good vibe. Now, maybe Lisa Leslie gave her a cool vibe, and that's where you guys are kind of saying the same thing, where you're saying that you think it was thought out. I agree, because the way she presented the question was very well thought out. It was it was framed perfectly.
It was planned.
That's what I'm saying. Like, listening to it, I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. It's the follow-up.
The follow-up, and I heard she keeps on doing it. The probing is the issue. You know what I mean? Because it is thought out. But what you're saying is like, she didn't think about the consequences. No, she didn't. Because it's not just us who's on your ass.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
the world is on your ass.
I think if anything, that might be the thing, right? Her not thinking about the consequences. But and this is not to me, like, not to continue to like egg this on, but I can only imagine that, like, in being in a position like that, I know I'll be the most hated black person in the world if I sit down here and try and condemn a black man. So I'm gonna be thinking about it, like which black person like wakes up each day and don't think about the burden of being a black person on a daily basis. So she had to think, like, it had to factor in to some degree, or whatever the case is.
It depends. I think we're also giving her credit, like as if she's like. I mean, I'm not saying she's not. But
she might have reached a status where she's
they're
just
not
like,
regular people no more.
It's
not black and white. It's
not
green
affecting
for
her the
them.
same way.
She on that Kanye.
Yeah, I ain't black. I'm green.
Right. Like, we don't know for a fact.
money.
We can assess
That's real.
that.
I get
You see
$10
how
million
it's
for a
twofold?
10-minute interview. Like,
that responsibility.
I don't know how that feel, you know.
Right.
I'm trying to get there though.
A lot of black
Shit.
people
I get
lose
that.
that responsibility.
I get that.
And we kind of, as black people, place the responsibility on these
them.
black people, thinking that they're connecting to us. Meanwhile,
I know they not.
That's real.
And that's why when you
I
do
don't
it,
necessarily
I got
think
to
that
call
they.
you.
I don't necessarily think that they aren't as well, right? Like,
They
they're just
were, but it's
degrees,
different.
There are degrees of separation to it all.
But it's also like, why
Oprah
is
is a billionaire. You have to think about that.
Yeah, she's been one for a long
that
ass
matters.
time.
Like, capitalism to that level. Like, everyone talks about wanting to be. I don't want to be a billionaire necessarily. Like, you know how much money that is.
Fuck that.
I kind of do.
Right. You don't need it. You don't need it. You'll never be able to spend it. You don't need $1 billion. So
It's more about the generational
Challenge
wealth
accepted.
thing.
Right.
I'm just trying to
You can have
create the generational thing.
generational wealth is with 500 million. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that that's not a aspiration of mine. I think when people say that, they're not really thinking about what that really means. When you accumulate that amount of money, you're in a different.
Yeah, it's a different world.
It's a
I
whole
feel you.
different world completely, mentally, everything. You become almost a controller.
Of course, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's an extreme disconnect of who we think she is anyway. She's 3 times over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a certain level of money that everyone says, I want to. You don't necessarily want to be that.
You haven't convinced me.
That's more.
Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility too.
Like, I'm waiting for the convincing
I want to
point.
know who she gonna leave it to. Like,
I'm saying
No,
that's a level.
these are the
Not
questions
for
I
you.
have.
Oh yeah, word.
You don't
She
want it,
got
I'm
a
telling
kid.
I feel
she
you.
ain't got no kids.
Don't
That
try
shit
and
is
creep back
all-
up now.
Yeah, that's why she's kind of like,
Who, me?
She's
I don't want
not
none of
playing
that
on this
devil
team.
money.
You
I don't
lying.
want none of
You
that.
lying like shit.
Yeah,
I'll
you know
take
I
it.
am. I'm lying like a mother. Oprah!
I'm sorry.
Baby, please take me back now. Fuck.
a lot of money is attainable, and I'm saying $1 billion
course.
it doesn't even need to be attainable.
But I'm just saying, let's just say if I wake up and Chase
you'd
happens
be
to,
so happy with 5 to 10 to 20 million, yo.
let's just say,
happier with
Right.
20. Like, I'm happy right now. This
Like
is
you
cool.
could
Thank
literally
you,
just
God.
blow $1 million one day and be
Yeah.
like, I got it.
Shit in one day. Motherfucker, I'll burn $1 million.
be like, yo, McCray, actually,
10
let me get
minutes.
$1. You have like $1 million in your account. I'm like, you're welcome.
Man.
I wouldn't
Everybody's
want that
rich.
much money because I know my family would be like, and so I didn't pay this bill. I didn't pay this bill. I want to buy this house.
But can you
More
enjoy
money,
it when you get to
more
that level?
power.
though?
Of course.
Because it puts you in a place of like, you're not even a real person. You can't really go anywhere. Like,
You just
everybody-
You
watch those
Yeah.
lottery ticket horror
Shit.
stories like on that
Everybody
channel?
broke.
I didn't
That's
ask for the
crazy.
fame though. That's me. I didn't ask for the fame. I just want the money.
I was about to say, like, I think you
want the
can
money.
if you get into it and you don't tell the person that you don't tell nobody around you that you got into money.
But your family
and then
gonna
you
know.
become wise. Now,
You cannot be a
They don't
billionaire
have to
and
know.
nobody knows.
Yeah.
They ain't got
Like,
to
you
know.
gonna have to spend that money so quietly, like
Yes.
every year, buy
Strategically.
something.
Yeah, like a little
I'm
body.
on it.
Little bit.
You
That's
can't
not
be
big.
You really can't. You really can't. Because I'm thinking about it now. I'll buy some dumb shit.
Exactly. You just be like, I'm gonna buy it because I
So then
can.
you move away from the family.
Yeah.
You
But then
move
they gonna
away
ask
from the
questions.
family.
They gonna
Huge,
ask your
Jen.
question like,
Why are you moving
Yo,
so
y'all
suddenly?
really having like fantasies right now.
Oh,
Fucking let me
man.
live.
but no, you can do that.
Nah,
It's
man.
I thought about it before.
I
It's
thought about
planned
this
out.
question so many times.
Yes. Okay.
And
like
then
how-
then like going to the job having like a funny ass way to quit.
Oh,
Like that's
yes.
gonna be
Woo!
awesome. What?
Yes.
We were talking about this on Friday.
I'm gonna have
I was
John
like-
Legend come to my.
I was like,
Too happy.
I would
She's,
just,
like, ready to go.
I would come to work and do mad dumb shit to see when they would fire me. Like,
Push
I
it,
would
see
just,
how far
I
you
would
could
push
push
it
it.
to see
Yes.
how far I could go before they fired me.
It's like if you come in
shit.
with the spliff on your ear, what is that enough? Like what? Is it enough? I don't know.
Imagine.
Do I have to light it? Like
Do I have to light it?
Give me this, McCray. Get it after school.
Like in the meeting, be like, so wait there. Remember tell that something, right?
What are you saying?
Right. Yeah.
I wanna be a
I
billionaire.
know,
That's
right?
it.
So freaking bad.
So we off. We
I'm cool
off.
with it,
We off,
Billy.
Gayle.
I think so.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
offer.
we
I think we
off
put her to
That was
bed.
a good debate about Gayle.
It was.
That was cool.
Slander on Kobe. We don't tolerate it. That's it.
He had to say it.
I can dig it.
Clearly.
I mean, he was a beloved figure. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely something that caught everybody off
It's a
guard.
touchy subject.
Definitely, you know. Yeah, it was difficult. I can speak to the next day, the aftermath of it. Coming into school, it was a bit of a. It was definitely a different vibe.
Somber.
Like even the kids, definitely very somber, and like my kids, they definitely wanted to know how I took it. So it was definitely difficult. Like I did like a little commemoration, whatever the case is, and gave them some, some info. But it was definitely weird because they felt it. You know what I'm saying? This is their think about our generation when we were their age. What was a significant loss?
I can't remember actually.
You know what I'm saying?
significant
Aaliyah was
loss?
the first one.
Aaliyah,
I mean,
yeah.
assuming
But I
Yeah,
feel like
Left
for
Eye.
me, a Left Eye was another one. But for me, like when I really felt a loss was Prince.
Oh.
Yeah. My guy right here, he's a huge Prince fan.
Yeah, and then everybody
talk
was
about
like,
it
"Oh,
now.
he was on drugs." I was like, "No, he wasn't.
You lie.
You're a liar." And then it came out, and I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, it was.
Rap. Like it
Can't really. I mean,
I still rep him though.
yeah.
I don't think there was nothing when we was growing up. I think that was
feel what I'm saying?
unprecedented. There was
Yeah.
nobody cause even I'm not taking away from nobody, but like
Of course not.
Kobe Bryant was 24 years. Like this shit was from 96 till now. Like, Aaliyah was dope, but we ain't off for 24 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we ain't
that's
no
true.
left out for 24
Yeah.
years. People
Yeah.
grew up
Yeah.
throughout their whole lives with this
Watching
one
it,
person.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that shit was different. So
Like,
for
it
it
was-
to happen that way is
And that's perspective that I gave to my students. I'm like guys, understand, in 95, 96, I'm what, 11, 12 years old. He's coming into the league. Like, we kind of came up with him in his career.
And that was the height of the NBA.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gave him the whole
And he just kept
timeline.
winning and winning.
Yeah, I told him how I was an MJ fan, and I was really scared of this dude with the afro. I used to call him when I was back in the day because he was coming. Like, you knew he was good. You know what I mean? So to see that, and then to watch him grow to, that's why it hit different. People who definitely follow basketball, the basketball community in itself, it just hit different because we never really had a significant loss so sudden before that hit the community.
And it extends beyond basketball, even though it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine what it was that y'all were going through, but I remember being introduced to him on Moesha. Like, I don't watch.
Yeah, different
basketball.
capacities. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I remember the episode. I remember like wondering who the hell this person was. Blah, blah, blah. So like, but I say that to say we take for granted how much like I guess they've played off of like those cultures and how. Like it has morphed and other people have learned to appreciate him because people who weren't basketball fans were like, oh shit. Yeah. Like this, like that shit is hard.
Yeah, like even my mom, like she was like, she couldn't stand the Lakers, couldn't stand Kobe, but she understood and she was even, affected by it. You know what I'm saying? Because I was. So it was just one of those things. Like it just hit everybody differently. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You can't really compare this to any type of a loss that we've had. Right. Like within that time. So.
I think you guys don't think Michael Jackson's loss might have felt the same for some folks?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's what started.
But I'm saying us growing up, I feel like we were adults. Yeah, it's my bro. It's all my fucking people, bro. It's but I think definitely. But I don't take that as when we were growing up because I was kind of an adult by the time that happened.
Like when Whitney died, that was kind of like
Like, why are all these good? Anyway, let's not do that because then we'll go down the path of like conspiracy theories and shit like that.
Yeah, let's not do that. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess a loss that kind of hit me if it's going down that road. Amy Winehouse.
Word.
For me, because it's like.
But I feel like I knew that one was coming.
Nah, don't do that to me though, because like.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Exactly.
They tried to get me go to rehab.
But
like,
first off, if you're gonna do it,
came out with.
Sing the damn lyrics right.
I apologize. You're right. They tried to get me
Respect
her.
Don't say it wrong again.
And I said no.
Just be quiet.
That's the only part
Just be quiet.
I feel like with Amy, like a lot of her stuff, she tapped into a lot of like aside from the whole rehab thing, but like Back to Black was a phenomenal album, like front to back.
That came out when we was in college.
Yeah, it was like I would be blasting it in my dorm room. I love that album.
To this day,
and she was so talented, and I guess it was more tragic because it's like you saw how she came out, then you saw what she performed at the Grammys or whatever it was, the Grammy pre-party, and she looked like wasted. Yeah. Just like 5 pounds and crazy. And then you just saw like her just spiraling down and down and down. And then she started to come up and she started to gain weight and she looked like she was getting clean. And then it was just like,
and then
all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was tough too. That was tough too a little bit.
It was sad. It was like, damn, because
she was ascending. She was going.
Yeah, and she had like so much potential in terms of like songwriting and
like just life trajectory.
Yeah. And also Mac Miller. I know we discussed that on the show earlier back. That was tough too.
He's dope. I don't know. Everybody's dope, son.
It's just hard. No, I'm not comparing. It's just
5 years. Like it's. I don't know.
I'm not comparing the years. I'm just more or less talking to like how the loss.
And I feel like with the rape case, it speaks to black struggle in itself. And when I would get people be like, "Oh, you just a crazy fan. You just a stan." But like as a black person, how could you hate on Kobe Bryant when you literally seen them try to put a rape case on him when he was at the pinnacle of superstardom, like being everybody's hero, to try to drag him back down and fought through all of that to get back to the top of the mountain? Like that shit is like that shit is like almost fucking,
That's real.
I don't want to say biblical, but it's crazy. Like they tried to bring him down on some crazy. He was facing life for that shit. Like had he been found guilty, they could have gave him life on some shit that he didn't. Did he have sex with the girl? Yeah, but like. Yeah, it was consensual. Like, you had sex with me, then you had sex with a couple other dudes. Like, that was your job. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just think it's crazy to see a black man in that position get that shit thrown on him, shake that shit off, come off the helicopter, get 50 points. Yeah, it's 50 points in a basketball game, but that shit was symbolic as to, like, I'm not going to let this bullshit that, America's trying to throw on me derail me from what I'm supposed to do. From like my God-given, like the reason why I'm on this planet. So when people hate on him and they black, I'll be like, bro, you're not a black man, bro? Like, you ain't see what they was trying to do to son? Like, that shit was wild, bro. Like, it completely fictional, like 1,000%. Like it wasn't no, I think maybe like they got to the point where they was just like, nah, we throwing this shit out. This shit is bullshit. Like this has no, but.
I mean,
so I think he meant a lot more than what he was given when he was here, and it's like in hindsight that we started to be like, oh, he was this great, he was such a great father, he was doing this for women's sports, he was doing all that. Like, why I ain't feel this way last year? Like all these things
honestly,
was the same last year.
I didn't know what he was. I didn't know he was doing all that for women in sports.
We were talking about that on the show.
I've talked about Mambacito on this show mad times. I said the WNBA is going to be revolutionized when Gianna Bryant gets to the WNBA.
You did say, but I didn't make a connection. Like I didn't realize that he was so hands on. And then it kind of like, it's kind of like a dope. It's two things. It's like he passed and you find this out, right? Because I don't know any other prominent basketball player, unless you guys can tell me, that's that hands on with women in sports. That's kind of like whack that he was killed suddenly because
it's a few
he's helping
coaches,
to elevate.
But yeah, nobody. You right.
I mean, as far as a name and having like a daughter who's in it and having, you know what I'm saying, it's
that kind of like, I mean, I'm not following like the same, but it kind of like, to me, it kind of, I feel like when people die, it kind of kills what they were doing. Like, I'm quite sure the league is going to keep going to like in his name, but him leveling up women, because you know the WNBA, I know that now they're about to start getting paid more or whatever. Yeah, that's a plus. But you need someone like a Kobe Bryant. Yeah, because that's what women need in general.
And his name is really big in basketball. So
right.
Like,
so that's why I was like, damn, he was doing all that. I didn't realize that, because to me, that's what we need. That women in every industry. I call them gentlemen. You need men in every game to kind of like. We can trailblaze, of course, right? But it's always dope to have a dude that has excelled, who is believing in what women are doing within the game. You know what I mean? So I hope that someone else who's as dope as him kind of like picks it up. You know, picks back up like where he was. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because it's like part of it was that his daughter was so interested.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that puts that fire in it. It's like, you know, my daughter's a shit. So like.
Right. But I think also being accused, right?
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like that played a role in
it's like
his trajectory.
Symbolic. Right. Yeah, it's symbolic. Like, they trying to say that this is what I'm doing with women. I have freaking 4 daughters, and now I'm gonna go harder. I'm gonna like really,
because it even started from when like he changed his number. It was just like a fresh. I'm shaking that off, and I'm doing something different.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought I had these visions of her coming out of high school the way he did, not even going to college, going straight from high school to the WNBA.
Because nobody's ever did it before.
Nobody's ever done it. It would have put the spotlight.
Now, wasn't she gonna go to UConn?
They said that, but I said nah. She was gonna. It would have been so much more marketable for her to go straight from high school to the WNBA. Were trying to
revolutionize both, like sports for like college.
But I think that would have catapulted WNBA. The fact that she came straight from high school,
she would have been such a mega star. Yeah, I mean, they won. Her 12-year-old team had just won a 16 and under tournament.
Her dad is Kobe.
So 16 and under is like in basketball. That's when you're at your prime. You know, high school, and then not to say, but genetically, women are usually more advanced at 16. So a 16-year-old girls team is usually better than a 16-year-old boys team as far as their level being closer to the pros, because these are almost like grown women. Yeah. So her 12-year-old team had just won a 16 and under national tournament.
Wow.
So like these are little girls. Like they ran the same offense that the Lakers ran. Like
make a basket in heels. That's the only playing that I saw.
Her dad was Kobe.
I had just commented on Kobe posted a video 2 weeks before that of her shooting a fadeaway turnaround, and I commented on it like, yo, this 12-year-old girl, her form is better than mine. Like, I'm a 33-year-old man. I've been playing this game my whole life.
Yeah, it is
the way
better.
she caught it, the way she caught it, it was pro work. Like, there's little clips of her and her footwork. Like, it's pro shit. You like, yo, that's professional footwork.
And you got to think about, the step that she's taking, like who she had.
She got the fucking mad scientist teaching her every day in her ear. Like,
and he had Olajuwon. He had MJ. So think about all of that she was encompassing, that she was getting.
She was going to revolutionize the WNBA. I promise you. She was going to blow up. All the WNBA is missing is a star, because I watch them all the time, and I've been on the show saying I watch shit all the time. Right. Dope basketball is dope basketball. I don't give a fuck who's playing. And if you watch them girls, they can ball, but they're just missing that one household name, that, LeBron, that Kobe, that Mike, that Jordan, that person that they can go to. And I feel like Gianna was that.
She wasn't that?
Lisa Leslie's that, but she's not one name basis. I say Lisa, you might be like Ray, you know what I'm saying? And you say Kobe, you say LeBron, you say Mike, you know what I'm saying? You know who you're talking about.
I mean, they had one player who was up there, like Maya Moore, but
but it ain't. It's still
but she took a step back because
you can't just say Maya though.
That's what I'm saying. She's not that one level basis. Do y'all know who Maya Moore is? Do y'all know who Maya Moore is?
Nope.
That's my hope. My point being, like, she was there.
She doesn't transcend the sport. It's someone that's bigger than the sport. Like, Kobe's bigger than basketball. Jordan is bigger than basketball. They needed that one star to put everybody's attention on.
No, I was saying she was there, but she's been removed from the game because she's doing. I think she's supporting her family with some legal because I think
someone
her
that's
brother
falsely
who was
accused,
like falsely accused.
Yeah,
But she was there. She was on her way. She had the whole
think so,
Jordan
though.
endorsement. She won like back-to-back chips. Like she was going.
But that's what I'm saying. She's won back-to-back
No,
chips, and
I
they still don't know. This was going to be
mean,
built up. We knew, like, people in the basketball community knew Gianna Bryant when she was 12, and it was going to consistently build. By the time she was getting to high school, you know, and killing, it was going to be like, yo, this girl has an opportunity to go pro out of high school. Oh, shit. Who's her dad? Kobe Bryant. Oh, my God. This is the big. And the media storm would have just created, just with the power that the women's movement are making now. You know, 6 or 7 years from now, when she's 18, and she would have been a perfect storm. It would have been like,
because based off of like the strength that her dad is Kobe.
That's
people,
it.
And then also the fact that she can actually ball.
she
really
was
well.
fucking crazy. Like, I don't know, man.
Did to segue? I mean, it's
Well, do we have any opinions to say?
That you're
You
saying
know,
fuck
F your
you
opinions.
too?
Yeah, they're saying fuck you too.
yeah.
What?
Whose opinion is
Fuck
it?
Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Like, who the fuck still celebrates that shit?
Because in school, no, not even. No, in school, school. Because the reason why, right? Because most of these kids, man, I felt so bad for these boys, man. They were getting their hearts broken. I had like 5 or 6 kids in the corner crying because so-and-so didn't accept their cookies or the card.
Cookies and candy?
Yeah, so I'm
They done
like,
lost their damn mind.
so I'm like in school, like, Miss McCray, so I'm like, listen, there's gonna.
That's how it goes.
That's part of
So
life.
Yeah,
You gotta
I'm
learn
like,
this now.
I'm like, chin up.
Yeah,
It's
you
life
gotta
lessons.
learn.
I'm like, chin up. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna split these cookies. I'll take, you know, that's
I'll
it.
be your Valentine.
That's all right. It's all right. You
Did
know.
anyone see the movie The Photograph yet?
No.
I should have seen that damn
That's my
movie
boy.
instead
I'ma
of
see it
Bad
later.
I didn't
Boys.
see it.
I want to see it too.
I want to see it.
Fucking Bad
Later,
Boys.
later.
I fuck with Lakeith, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
definitely
that-
see it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
my boy.
I like Issa.
We didn't get a chance to talk about because the
Power.
gentleman who plays Paperboy, I think he just,
Paperboy.
Why about Paperboy, bro? ATL's coming
He's
back.
gonna be.
Atlanta's coming back.
He's gonna be in the. He's gonna be a Marvel superhero, but he just also
Yeah.
shared that he was open, like that he was gay.
Is he
So I just
gay
wanted
or
to
is
see-
the
No,
superhero
the
gay?
character's gay.
Oh,
He's
the
playing
character's
the
gay.
character.
Oh, I thought he
Paperboy's
was
gay?
No, he's playing
That's how
a gay
rumors get started.
superhero.
That's
Paperboy is
Oh.
playing the gay superhero.
Oh, I thought that he
How
was
do we
gay.
feel about
Okay.
that? How do we feel about
It's
that?
a role,
mean-
and if you're
I'm
gonna
about to
be
say
a-
that
an
changes
actor,
everything in
I think
Atlanta.
They're doing
if he's
that
gay.
they're doing it to like change to make people more comfortable with like with homosexuality. Which
Why?
Is fair.
I
Why
can
is
dig
it?
it.
Why is a black man the face of? Is a gay superhero?
I can feel you with that. I don't know the origin of the superhero. I don't know if the superhero is black,
Yeah.
and if
It's a
they're
fair
sticking to.
question,
So I don't know.
So
I can't
let's
speak on that.
discuss that. Because I actually got
Because a
into.
lot of people feel like there's an agenda,
Of course.
you know, to kind of feminize the black
The
man.
black man, and they always say that with like
Speak-
with all these black men who.
Speaking
like,
of that, what do you feel about Dwayne Wade's son claiming that he's, you know?
I feel like he doing what the fuck he wanna do.
I got into it
his
with
life.
someone about that as well, and I said, listen, it's his parenting, and I mean,
He has
Dwayne
the
Wade,
rights.
and that's his
That's how
son.
his kid feels. Like,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what-
but and he just, you know, it was just one of those remarks. Of,
I
oh, if
think-
that was my son, I would.
Well, it's not
you
your
know,
son's.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it's not
so
your
then-
son's.
Exactly.
So
You know what I'm
fuck your
saying?
opinion. How about that?
Plus, I don't like. I think that people need to educate themselves
Yeah.
because people think that I never heard his son claim to be gay. He claimed to, you know, he claimed to be trans. That he felt and act, you know,
Yeah.
he felt like a girl.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't mean that he likes guys. He
Yeah.
never said that. So people, the men who are uneducated and basically ignorant, they think that D Wade is aiding in sexualizing his son.
Yeah.
But how? Because, you know, they're thinking that, like, why is a 12-year-old thinking about having sex with boys or whatever? Who said that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people they it's hard for them to distinguish like what transgender is and what like sexual orientation is.
Right.
So it's like when they like because we were having this conversation at work again, right?
Yeah.
Y'all be working.
HR, bro, HR on our ass.
Hopefully, they don't listen to this.
So I think he was talking about like so there was a female who was dating a trans male, so that means they were born female and they're male now, but none of them I consider themselves lesbian. And he was like, I don't understand that. And I was like, but what don't you understand? Like the female is attracted to a man, right? The transgender man is not doesn't
now
identify
identifies.
as a female, which would make sense. So that's why they don't consider themselves
This
a lesbian.
transgender man has a penis?
I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Well,
Nah, but
no,
what
I
I'm
don't-
saying is, do you have a penis? Like, because if you're attracted to somebody with a vagina, then like you a lesbian. Like I feel
They
kinda
say
feel
that
The
this is a
assumption was that I didn't know. I didn't ask about genitalia, but I'm assuming that if they were trans, I was assuming that they were fully like transitioned into being a man.
Which makes me wonder if there's a difference between transgender and transsexual.
But even
There is.
There
It's
is.
confusing.
Okay, so, and which might be
I'm just confused
that
by
might
y'all
be
just
what the
saying.
distinction is.
But even with that, like even if you get the operation, like does that change the fact that your chromosomes are still like because that's kind of what differentiates between
They
man
take
and women.
pills.
So,
That's
like,
biology,
even if
though.
Yeah, but that doesn't change your. I don't know. Yeah. So what is? I don't know. Like is gender like
for
it's
me, like there's gender is what you identify, then there's biology, which is what you were born with, or what.
So
or how you were
transsexual
born.
is when you change
that's
your
how-
organ.
I think so.
Yeah, so that's-
Transgender is
But
when you claim
I
to
don't.
be the
But then you
Okay.
can't, cause like I don't know. I struggle with that, cause like I don't like you can't. I can't say like I identify as a billionaire, and then now you just gotta treat me like that. Like I can't go into the bank and be like I identify as a billionaire.
I
You gotta give
mean,
me $500 million
but I
right
think-
now, 'cause this is what I identify.
But
as.
I
You
think
can't
people
discriminate
put too much
against me.
pressure on feeling the need to define, like which is the thing with this pronoun thing, right? I feel like if a person is saying "call me cute," then that's my fucking name.
Oh
Call me
yeah,
cute.
yeah, that's whatever you want to
I'm
be
calling
called.
Clay.
whatever you call.
I'm gonna call him Clay.
Yeah, that's good. But like shit, like being on IDs, like identification, and like I feel like you should have to specify that, like that spills over into consent. Like someone should know what you were born as, because like I will not consent to having sexual contact with someone who is of the same. So I don't know. I just think it's weird to me. Like
Either way, but bringing it back, that's what I'm saying. That they have to, not they have to. I guess we have to if we really want to know, educate ourselves on that. Since they keep adding more to the group. So I'm just saying that the people who are basically trying to sexualize his son and a lot of men who are like going at D Wade, I feel like some people,
Fuck those
black
opinions.
people, don't want to admit that there's a such thing as toxic masculinity, and I feel like it comes out in these instances. Y'all don't think it's
no?
This
I
is
feel
a
like
conversation.
they're not ready for it. You
But on the same token, I do
All right,
believe
Reef, time
that
for us
it's
to go.
such a thing as also as toxic
Stop.
femininity
it's,
as well.
It's something that we've been wanting to talk about on our show too, but like we've been getting like some opinions, but
Yeah, somebody was like, it's bullshit. Oh, okay.
Yeah, somebody else told me that too, but I'm saying that it's also toxic femininity as well. Like there are women who kind of abuse, they do certain things that women do that shouldn't, like they kind of overexert and they're toxic. So I'm saying that in this situation, the toxic part comes out with the men when you start like bashing D Wade and you start, being ignorant about his son and you start saying certain things, kind of overexerting like this masculine thing. That is where it comes out in these situations. Like if guys are tuning in, you have no idea of what it is. When you're doing those things, like that is toxic. It's toxic.
That's just toxic ignorance.
I think there's an issue with
Basically.
It's like I
But
think
that's
it
what it is,
boils
right?
down to like black people always have to be one thing. Like what is
Unfortunately.
black? And
Right.
it's just like why can't black be a whole array of things? Why is it black men have to be this way?
Right.
Why can't there be this type of black
Well,
man?
they spent forever trying to automate the world, right? That's what the mechanism of slavery was behind anyway, right?
But why do we have to
force us
subscribe to that ourselves?
Because we're still drinking the tea.
Nah, fuck that. Like I just I'm awkward black. Like before, like that wasn't really a thing. But I feel like we need to start creating our own lanes and say like this is black.
Yep.
That is black.
Folks don't
We're
recognize
all
that they're
black.
still in the sunken place, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand that we perpetuate
Yeah.
like this idea of conditioning and like staying
Yeah.
complicit
I think
and
that's what
complacent
Tyler the
about-
Creator was speaking to when he was discussing him winning an award about how his like being described as urban. And he was just saying he was
I did hear
more
that,
multifaceted than that. So that was interesting.
He got to chill because when I think of him, all I think of it is his freestyle when he was on Flex.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah, it was weird.
I cannot.
Shock value.
Yeah, but
I
he can
know.
rap though. But he's
Yeah,
dope. His album was
I'm
fire.
sorry,
though.
I just flashed
His
to
album was
that just
fire.
now. So.
Any more opinions that we don't give a fuck about? Without bringing up Gayle.
About the president. I'm over it. So fuck
Trump is
everything that
coming
has
back.
to do-
I mean, just brace yourself.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Trump is in the house.
He is.
He definitely winning.
I was at a bar with a whole bunch of white people last night, and they were
definitely
like,
winning.
in Long Island, mind you. So they were like talking about Trump. I was like, it's time for us to go.
Yeah,
he's
I've
coming
definitely
back.
come to that.
Especially since the Democrats, like Bloomberg is about to partner up with Hillary. With Hillary.
Word.
Oh boy.
He's really a double agent. He sent a lot of
Allegedly.
Republicans to cause
Right.
disarray amongst the
I
Democrats.
definitely think
and
so.
Come on,
like,
if you're not smart enough to see that,
Conspiracies, you see.
Bernie, fuck with Bernie. Bernie went to my high school, Philip Byrne, but they'll kill him before they let him be president. But Bernie, we fucking with you, baby.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Night.
yeah. You got Bernie, you got Biden, and you have the other young lady. She's creating
Warren.
Warren.
No, there's another one.
Oh,
Klobuchar. She's
I
been.
know nothing about her.
I just
We
learned.
fucking with Bernie.
I just learned about her through watching Bill Maher's show.
Bernie's not going to beat Trump, though.
No, he's not.
I think
They'll kill him before they let Bernie Sanders win.
if
Like,
there's
the
anyone
powers
that has
be
like
will
a
fucking kill
fighter's
him.
chance, I think it's Bernie.
They'll kill him.
Definitely is Bernie.
What
Because-
he's about to do to economics,
They
would
were
kill that
saying like
motherfucker.
some places that Hillary didn't win. As far as the Democratic vote, Bernie had those votes within the popular votes. He's just and that. I mean,
I
if
feel
there's
like-
anybody that could, it's
But he's not.
he's
Trump winning,
he's
though.
the crazy white dude in all those sci-fi movies that no one believes
Until
the
it's
shit
too
happens.
fucking late. I told you. Now we trying to get him when the shit. Yeah. Word.
Well, what can
That
we do?
silent majority is real. Because a lot of people are like, oh no, I'm not voting for Trump.
Right.
And then
Look at all these people driving around with these bumper stickers talking about Blue Lives Matter in New York City. Okay.
Well, I know a black woman that voted for Trump.
I know a few
What?
black people that voted for
And
Trump.
on that note,
On that note,
bye.
I want to thank guests from Corrupt the Wisdom.
thank you
Thank
so
you guys
much.
for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. This is the inaugural episode of Fuck Your Opinion podcast, episode 60.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Inaugural. Oh!
And we're going to close.
Dang, Q, that was you.
Hey,
What I do?
That was you?
No,
That was you.
What did I do?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
I had like
didn't
a-
even realize. I
Dang.
Just add that at the end.